This is Attorney Talib Kareem Muhammad, and I am the Executive Director of STEM for Us. And I also have the great honor to have spent the past 3 semesters teaching some incredible students at the only HBCU based in Memphis, Tennessee, and that is Lemoyne Owen College. And this is a presentation that has been organized by my students, actually. And we are dealing with an issue of importance not only to them as students there in Memphis, but to the entire country. And that is the question of how do we stop the spiraling violence that is gripping our communities all across the country, and particularly in Memphis, and at the same time, a steady decline of student performance and outcomes in the classrooms. And we have seen that there is a connection between those two matrices, and researchers have titled those connections the preschool to prison pipeline. And so this conversation is about how can we break that pipeline using what we have been now told in the media, and I think researchers have proven this, is that we have at our disposal one of the greatest tools for manufacturing solutions that mankind has ever created, and that's artificial intelligence. And so artificial intelligence is there through the creation of supercomputers, such as the Colossus supercomputer based in Memphis, Tennessee, which is the world's largest supercomputer. That supercomputer and all supercomputers are there to solve problems. And so if there's any problem that needs to be solved, it is the problem of breaking this pipeline, this cycle of young people starting off in preschool and winding up in jails, or even worse, dead. So we are excited about this technology that is available to us, and we wanted to put it to use for our people, not only in Memphis, but across the country. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on the chairman of the board of STEM for Us, one of the nation's foremost leaders in not only cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, but energy. And as we have heard from all of the national leaders, the energy is the key for the revolution that is unfolding, and that is in artificial intelligence. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up a legend in the energy, the cybersecurity, and AI industrial revolutions, if you will. And that is none other than our chairman, David Owens. Take it away, David.
Thank you, Talib. And good morning to everyone. Talib put me on a pedestal, but I'm not on a pedestal. I'm on a footstool. I'm really, really excited about today's symposium. It's important, however, that I give you a little bit of context about myself, aside from all the outstanding comments that Talib made about me. I kind of relate to this topic very significantly. I grew up in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia, in a very poor neighborhood. I was a member of the Moon Gang. All around me was a lot of crime. But I was guided by my faith, my family, and some friends. I always took an interest in science, technology, engineering, and I went to Howard University and I got graduate degrees in engineering. And my career catapulted. When I joined the industry, it was very, very racist at that time. No people of color in any key positions, and particularly in the energy area. The energy area was very, very prejudiced. But by the grace of God, strong support of my family, and hard work and perception, my career moved on and I became executive vice president, leading authority in the energy area. And as I was moving through this road of life, I always looked back and said, what is my purpose, Lord? And the Holy Spirit came to me and said, your purpose is to give back, to make a meaningful, positive difference in other people's lives. I made you a trailblazer. Now you have to blaze a trail for other people. You have to find a way to uplift the spirit of other people, to give them hope. And that's what STEM for Us does. So I've been involved in STEM for Us for a lot of years. We are in a substantial period of transformation, as Taleb said. Change is driven, in my view, by three particular elements. One element is public policy, government, all these policies that evolve. Civil rights movement, all of that was a part of public policy. Technology and changing customer needs and expectations. Our focus today is on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is transforming the world. Data analytics is where it is, folks. And so what we're seeking to do is to recognize that and to uplift the spirit, not just of our younger kids, but those who are incarcerated. Help them, give them some hope as they re-enter society by making them familiar with this whole new transformation taking place through artificial intelligence. Vehicles that drive through artificial intelligence. No driver there. Technology is driving it. All the things around us are going to be driven by data analytics, artificial technology, artificial intelligence. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We have a tremendous agenda with some outstanding speakers. And this is just the beginning, folks. As Taleb said, the students put this on. They developed this agenda. They want to have a meaningful impact too. So this will be a continuum of things that we're going to seek to try to do. From the prisons to pre-K, from pre-K to the prisons. We're developing this very important pipeline. Critically important. We are in this age of transformation. So let's be leaders in this age of transformation. Let's bring some hope back to our people. I'm going to turn it now over to Taleb again, and he can go through the outstanding panels that we have and some of the themes that we seek to leave with you today. Again, I am highly honored to have this opportunity to speak with you today. Godspeed. Taleb?
Thank you, David. And we appreciate and thank the Almighty for blessing us with the leadership that we've had in the embodiment of yourself. We've had some amazing leaders over the years serve as our chairman, but clearly in terms of institution building, none has been as impactful to us and our youth that we serve than you. And so on behalf of all of the young people and all of their parents who have benefited from your leadership, we salute you, David.
Thank you.
Well, so I think David laid it out very succinctly. We are on the cusp of something incredible. While I think the data point in Memphis speaks to 28 homicides in 1 month. That's almost one homicide per day. And it may have gone up. It may have gone up already over the weekend, the beginning of the weekend, yesterday, perhaps, to now perhaps 30. And the month hasn't even ended. So when you have that type of carnage, clearly it's without doubt, nobody can think that the status quo is acceptable. So we have to be in the mindset of what can we do different than what we are already doing. So let me start by and this might be unpopular for people, but I want to actually highlight something different that has come out of the White House. And again, I say it that prefacing that some people, again, might think twice about this, but let's actually highlight something that is, I think, worth highlighting. And that's the fact that just recently, the White House announced a special initiative in which it was going to be focusing on our nation's HBCUs. It's called the White House Initiative to Promote Excellence and Innovation at Historically Black Colleges and Universities. Now, note, some people were concerned that this White House would even mention the word Black, but many of us who had been following it and not speaking publicly necessarily about it, but we had seen that there were a number of people in this White House who were very much allies for HBCUs and had been so for a very long time. And in fact, before the administration even got fully running, there was a conversation about a 100, no, in fact, not 100, but over $500 billion initially started off as a AI innovation fund that they were creating. And then it went up to 1.1 trillion, and then it went up to 2.5 trillion. And so our board chairman said, hey, why not STEM for us create a white paper to spell out a case for why some of that money should go to HBCUs. And within 48 hours of the announcement of the White House's innovation and AI fund, we had created a white paper that spelled out why we believe that some of that money, at least 100 billion, should go to HBCUs. And I can say, again, don't take my word for it, but you can look at the data points for yourself. But take a look at our white paper, and then take a look at the language from the White House's announcement. And I will only say is that if you see some similarities, don't be surprised. And that to me is a sign. And again, we're not in the White House frequently. In fact, we haven't even been in the White House since this administration started as an organization. But we do constantly communicate with leaders who are making impact on this administration. And it's without any doubt that they are listening. And that to me is something, again, a lot of people are being critical about, but the fact that they're listening is something that I think should be encouraging. And so now, again, they've listened to what we've called for in terms of, let's focus on HBCUs and innovation. Now, the next step is to push for the money, the investment. And a lot of our HBCU presidents gathered with us at the beginning of the year, and we talked about, how could we navigate in this new water, and how could we, again, get the administration and the technology industry, and as was mentioned earlier, the energy industry excited about the HBCUs, which are perfect partners. What is it that HBCUs have? They have two things, in some cases, three assets that technology companies and energy companies need. One, they have over 100 years of intellectual property, which totally distinguishes them from other institutions that, for example, the Chinese have. The Chinese are a essentially homogeneous society. They don't have people from different parts of the world, by and large. Very fractious. Some people are coming as students, but very small numbers of diversity. And we have these HBCUs, which are, again, institutions that have brought people from all over the world, not just Black people, but also Caucasians and also Native Americans, Latinos, and Africans, Caribbeans. And so these institutions are great resources of intellectual property from all over the world. That, from a AI researcher, is invaluable. Ask any AI researcher, again, about the potential to do all kinds of wonderful things with the different data, the different inputs coming from all these researchers over the span of 100 years. It's incredible. And again, we're not just talking about one institution, but over 100 HBCUs that have that same intellectual property. That in itself is worth $100 billion. But that's not all. Many of them also have property, land, upon which, and I'm not just talking about, a few square feet, but in fact, many of them are agriculture based and have acres upon acres of land. Some of that land is being used for farming, but a lot of that land is not being used as much as it could be. So what does that mean? That means, as the president and the Secretary of Interior are also, and the Department of Energy Secretary have spoken about, is that the AI plants of the future will not only be manufacturing information, but they will also be manufacturing their own energy. And what better place for those manufacturing centers than HBCUs that have this land ready for that type of partnership? Thirdly, HBCUs, by and large, are in some of the most economically undervalued properties or communities in the country. So the price of acquiring some of that land would be much less than going to some place where the land prices may be higher. And you have the capability of having a lab or an experimental environment for testing out your ability to bring about massive change, such as ending the significant violence along with the underperformance of our students, breaking the preschool-to-prison pipeline. So that's what you have the capability of doing there on every HBCU in our country, creating after-school programs, summer school programs in partnership with the HBCU, helping the HBCU to come into the modern time where a 4-year degree is not the requirement, or even a postgraduate degree is not the requirement for today's AI manufacturing centers, but maybe just certifications. So again, helping HBCUs to retool themselves for today's educational requirements of employers. On top of that, creating programs in partnerships with the HBCUs and the local jails. So our students who have fallen through the cracks and are in jails have an opportunity to get their training in jail and then be placed in jobs. So when they come out of these jails, they actually are able to break that cycle of recidivism that has them back on the streets and creating this environment that makes our streets so dangerous. As well, finally, as an ecosystem. When we say ecosystem, what is that? An ecosystem is nothing more than the idea of recycling the money. So if you create, again, not a grant, because a lot of times our HBCUs and other nonprofits are used to just grant dollars. But if you think about it in the startup context, by creating funds, you then have matrices in which the monies have to be, again, accounted for, and not only accounted for, but the monies are put out with the idea that $1 worth of investment will be turned into at least $10 or $100. So the idea is, again, putting this money as an investment vehicle, so every HBCU can turn that investment from a 1 billion per HBCU to then create at least 10 or 100 billion per HBCU in value, possibly, again, creating wealth for not only themselves, but again, that ecosystem of alumni, students, community members around that HBCU, changing our HBCUs, which right now are some of the most distressed communities in the country, into becoming some of the most economically enriched communities in the country. That's what artificial intelligence has the power of doing. However, as we'll talk about in today's conversation, and I'll leave you here, AI alone cannot solve the problem. There is a saying in Arabic that comes from the Quran, and it says, Allahu la yughayr al-qawm hatta yughayr anfusihum, which means that a nation of people will not be changed until they are willing to first change themselves. So we as a people, we as a nation have to come up with a new paradigm. If we're going to take advantage of this technology and help our children to break the cycle going from preschool to prison, then we as a nation, and particularly those in the inner city communities surrounding our HBCUs, we have to come into a different value system and begin to understand that certain things that we may be doing, that we may like doing, is no longer in our best interest. And as a result, that needs to be canceled. And we need to begin adopting behaviors, values, and morals that are in alignment with our best interest. Again, we can't blame, either the people, the Ku Klux Klan, for example, that used to be, again, a menace in our community, or the Republican Party, or this administration or that administration, when we ourselves are killing each other at a greater rate than we were ever killed in the time of lynching in this country. You do the numbers and you'll see that statement being true. So we have to accept accountability amongst ourselves. And I believe that if we as an, community, we as a nation embrace this, then truly this country will really be great, greater than it's ever been. And that is the introduction of our conversation today. I'm really looking forward to the panel. So stand by, and you will be in store for something very special. And we look forward to that conversation. We look forward to coming back with you in a moment. All right. So we have an interesting video that we'll play that is pointing out some very interesting information about how artificial intelligence can be a game changer in the classroom. So let's tee that video up. I'll have my team start to share that. But again, we are seeing that artificial intelligence is very much um, an additive and can be useful. We had just interviewed the former superintendent of Memphis Public Schools, and she had a number of ideas of how AI could be used in terms of tracking student performance, engaging with parents, helping with accountability for contracts, something that came up in the conversations around her tenure, which was cut prematurely short there in Memphis. So let's tee this up and listen and then bring in our panelists.
My students, I'm teaching them how to use AI as a tool opposed to just cheating or making their life easier, but how they could use it to help them study if they don't understand a topic, help break down a primary source that's maybe a little bit more difficult for them to read. It's a new tool that we have, and it's not going away, and we need to learn how to utilize it opposed to just completely shut it down. But I think that's the biggest issue with AI is how do we use it for them to still think critically.
There's just a type of learning and growth that comes with that critical thinking and that trial and error that AI doesn't provide them. Now, if students were to say, hey, AI, I don't understand this question, can you reword it for me? And then they were to try to then address the question or the prompt or the task, that would be using it to learn.
So we are back, and we are here to now bring our speakers who are going to be actually going to talk about where we need to be in terms of the actual program and where we can actually end the preschool to prison pipeline. And this is the so let's see right here is another video, but we'll have our team remove that. So we are very happy to we're very happy to have some great conversations. And the question is a question. Let's see. We have I don't know, Mr. Thompson, can you hear us? Did you hear the background there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you hear the video in the background? No.
Yeah, I can hear something in the background.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's like a little echo at the end.
Okay, let's see. We're gonna pause and come back. So stand by. We'll get technical difficulties. And, let's go back. Okay, we are back. We're back. Always good to see that technology is available. Sometimes it works for us. Sometimes it is a challenge for us. And I think that's the beauty of this conversation that we're having now. So without any further ado, I want to bring on our student moderator, Miss Kadia Thompson. And she's going to be joined by an illustrious panel, including educators and also business leaders. First of all, we have Mr. Rashad Watkins, who is an educator, and he has been working on both sides of the pipeline, the preschool pipeline, where he is currently running a preschool in Memphis, Tennessee. He is a proud alum of the Lemoyne On College, as we like to say it there. And also, he has worked in the court systems. So he's seen the entire pipeline, and we're very honored to have Brother Rashad. Welcome, Brother Rashad. We also have with us another educator, and that is none other than Isaiah Harrison. Isaiah is a not only technology coach, but he's also a trading coach, and he can tell you the difference between trading and investing. Something that I didn't know that much about, but it is a difference, and there's a reason why he's both into technology as well as in investing, and we're very happy. And he's been an adjunct professor as well as teaching his students on a weekly basis how to both become full stack developers as well as trading professionals. And so congratulations and thank you very much for joining us. We also have Marion Williams. Marion is a cloud architecture specialist, and he brings over 20 years of experience working for government organizations such as the Department of Defense, and also working in the systems engineering integration, model-based systems engineering in particular. And so he has a very keen understanding about how AI is being used in the workforce and what skills our workers need. Marion, are you with us? We look forward to you joining us. All right, there's Marion right now. So without
I'm here.
I will let Miss Thompson take it away, and I'll get out of your way.
Thank you all this morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding engineering our education system with AI tools. So first, like I said, thank you all for coming. So Mr. Watkins, thank you. I want to ask you this question. Building on the earlier analytics of the Tennessee legislation enabling state interventions in MSCS, how can AI-driven tools help address the challenges of state oversight while ensuring access to quality education for at-risk students who are most vulnerable to the preschool to prison pipeline?
All right, good morning. Thank you for that question. So, with the state legislature taking over, the only way that it will work is that they have to have competent people to understand exactly what our population in Shelby County needs. Like I always tell my parents and my staff, along with the leaders at Shelby County and also in Nashville, that we have to stop going into these rural areas and thinking just because it works in Tipton County, it could work in Shelby County. Tipton County and Shelby County is totally different, especially with the background and the ethnic group that we have. Shelby County is 90% African American compared to your Tipton County. So if you have things that are working in Tipton County that, oh, it works out here because we have 300 to 400 students, it's not going to work here when you have over 100,000 plus students in a school system. Also, You must have people who know what they're doing that can assist with our board of education, that can help with the auditing, and also can help with creating a curriculum that will help and focus on our students and our students' needs. We use curriculums now that I don't think they're based specifically for our students. And I talk about this all the time. One of my teachers who's been teaching the profession for over 30 plus years, Miss Phillips, we need a curriculum that actually help our students, that can actually assist our students and let our students know, hey, this is why we do this, instead of basing our curriculum off someone that's in California. That are two different tracks or paths right there that will never meet each other. So I go back to the question, if we can put it all together and make sure we have competent people who know what they're doing and who will actually assist us and bring us to the table instead of going to get people that's outside of Shelby County, I think it would be a great investment and a great tool to use.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Harrison, the next question. What specific AI technologies or strategies can be implemented to enhance teacher support in under-resourced schools like those in MSCS? And how might these interventions improve students' outcome and reduce disciplinary issues that often lead to justice system involvement?
I'm sorry. What was the beginning of that question? I'm sorry. You said what specific AI tools you can use for this?
Specific technologies or strategies can be implemented to enhance teacher support in understanding under-resourced schools like those of MSCS, and how might these interventions improve students' outcome to reduce disciplinary issues?
So like one of the tools, and this is speaking from experience. I use AI like on a regular basis actually to run my company, to draft emails, to make offer letters, to do to just do business proposals, anything like that. The fact that we AI in today's like society is kind of like a blessing, because in the neighborhood there's a lot of like lack of resources. Like even so, I'm from Philly. I'm from North Philly specifically. We couldn't bring home textbooks because our textbooks were there were enough for all of the students. So some of us like admittedly had to take some of this from the school and get like the information, and so that we can study at home. With AI, things like ChatGPT, specifically ChatGPT, we could use this to have like an unlimited amount of information nowadays. I believe, like in my opinion, and I think it's a very strong. And like what we used to do was kind of creatively think about what we want to write. If we want to write something down, if we want to study something, if we want to learn something, we have to creatively think about those things. Now we have AI to creatively think about these things for us, and now we set ourselves up in a position where we're like delegating, so to speak, or acting like the CEO of whatever. Like do this task, do that task, do this task, do that task. You can ask AI to do these things for you now, and then you can just check it. You can just check it after that. But either way, I use AI to help me day to day. Students can use AI to help them write book reports, to help them solve math problems, to help them pretty much do anything that you can pretty much look up online. We're really here to critically think. Like, we're here to make sure all of the pieces fit together. If we can use technology to gather all of the relevant information for us, it sets us apart, like leagues ahead of people. So the more people that hop on this, the more people that use AI, we'll start getting a better quality of life, because we have access to more quality information. So I hope that answered the question.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and our next question for Mr. Williams. Given the potential expansion of charter schools and voucher programs under the new MSCS interventions, How can AI be leveraged to ensure that systematic education reform prioritize values-based learning and family engagement, particularly for communities disproportionately affected by the preschool to prison pipeline?
That's a very interesting question. I would say that education gives you the purpose of an education is not so much to learn what is going on today, but it is to give you frameworks for thinking about the problems that human beings are going to be dealing with 50 years from now that we could never even think about. I've used AI on my job. If I need to know something, I remember when I was trying to learn Amazon Web Services. I remember I knew how to do certain things, but I didn't know how to do others. And so I actually told AI to go in and to create a lesson plan based upon these things. And so I was able to come up with what I did. I told it what I did know. And I also told it, how I want you to actually help me, guide me to understanding something at a much higher level. And I've actually done some of that. Mr. Owens, actually, he talked about the importance of data analytics, which is looking at how data can be used and leveraged to make database decision making to enable that. And so, one of the things that I've done is I've had to take information that I've learned on the job and try to figure out, well, okay, based upon this information, how can I actually do something that's value add? Because technology is a great servant but a poor master. So you have to be thinking about, well, what do you want to do, which is ultimately a human aim, and then how can you use the technology to do that? And specifically to education, education has a lot of waste in it. Not so much because people are inherently uh, uh, not because they're inherently evil or they're trying to take advantage of things. I think a lot of times it's just because human beings have evolved over time to deal with these large bureaucratic structures, to deal with large amounts of complexity and large amounts of resources. And AI can help to route out some of that. Ultimately, it goes back to what do you want to do? How can you use it to assess teachers or assess learning, assess what is needed, and being able to work in smaller groups and those kinds of technologies, the AI that exists to be able to do that can be used also to help students to be able to think about what kind of problems or what kind of problems are going to be needed or how AI can help you to solve the problems that you don't even know you need an answer to yet. So I think AI can be used in a wide array of things, and if you actually are aware of it, it can actually be much better way of engaging thinking because AI, and I'm specifically talking about generative AI, which is a type of AI that is used like ChatGPT that was mentioned earlier, those kinds of things. So I think that generative AI, when you actually type in what do you want, you can actually you do that by something called prompt engineering, where you actually engineer a prompt, which is just a set of instructions, and you balance the AI what is the knowledge that you wanted to pull from, and then from that basis, then you're using that to ask it questions and to check your assumptions and those kind of things. And AI has a lot of potential for that because you don't necessarily have to have an extensive amount of training to do that. It's relatively simple. It takes practice, but it's definitely not a skill set that I think is outside of the average person's wheelhouse.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we'll open it up to the audience for any questions. Do we have any questions? Any questions from the audience?
I think there's a question there, Ms. Thompson. I'll help out. I think the question that we've gotten that we put in there in the chat is, what skills do students need to become competent enough for them to be hired by AI companies? Many of you all are employers as well as professionals and educators. What do we need to do to change what's happening inside the classroom to give our students the skills? And as we may know, we had a reformer in Memphis, Dr. Fagans, who tried to bring change, but her change was met with resistance. What recommendations do you all have for people who are seeking to bring about education reform at the same time that you have people wanting to hold on to the status quo?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay. I think the main thing is understanding that AI is not going. It is a revolutionary technology, but understanding its underpinnings will be very key to doing that. And to do that, it's based upon algorithms. It's based upon statistics. And even going even further, it goes to an understanding, a fundamental understanding of algebra. So if you understand the mathematics behind it, it's much easier to ask it questions. Meaning that just like there's when I grew up, there was a saying, "Garbage in, garbage out." So if you provide bad inputs to a system, no matter how good the system is, you're going to get bad outputs out. And so you need to be in a place to understand how to write your prompts. Like in ChatGPT, how do you ask it questions so that you can actually do various different things with it? And then from the outputs, then you also, it's an iterative thing, because you're not always going to get what you want at the first time. You're going to have to tell it to refine and elaborate on certain things. And so all of that is going back to a process of thinking. So a lot of the things I had no idea that the information I learned in English, as far as distinguishing between different types of words, providing shading and more specifically gradations in words. So for example, I could say something, I could say there's a gray, the sky is gray, or I could say it's slightly overcast. Both of them are getting to the fact that there's an overcast, that the sky is not necessarily clear, but one provides more nuanced understanding of what am I seeing. Those kinds of things actually can help you when you're drafting your prompts and having the computer to understand what it is, what kind of output you're looking for.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that concludes our first panel. We'll get ready for our second panel. Thank you all so much.
I think there's one more question for your panel. You want to go in and ask that last one, you're welcome to do so.
Oh, we do have another question. Students are at risk. Parents with warrants or parole, felon, foster parents in prison. The solution begins with the parents. Okay.
And that is true at some point. The solution does begin with the parents, but we also must understand that a lot of our parents weren't taught a lot of things, and they're still learning and growing themselves. So we must give grace to some parents in some senses, that when things happen, we just can't blame the parents for everything that goes on with the child. because at the end of the day, we're all adults, we're all humans, and every day you're growing. If you're not growing, that says a lot about you. So once you begin to realize that parents need help too, and how can we help the parents and also have programs to help parents help their children, then we'll be better when the children come into the system, and not the system, but the school system, and they can actually sit there and deal with their social and emotional skills. They can deal with communication, because a lot of parents don't know how to deal with their own social and emotional skills or communication. So what they think of is, well, my mom raised me like this, so I can raise my children like this. But sometimes you have to break that curse and also learn to listen to your child and let your child know it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to try to explore. It's okay to have open communication with adults to see, maybe it's like this or maybe it's not like this. Because I've learned, being in education, that a lot of our parents don't communicate with their students. They just give them a phone and say, okay, sit down, or give them a tablet to keep them quiet, instead of actually using the tablet or the phone for educational purpose, where they can learn to connect with their students or learn to connect with their children at home. They just give them a phone just for entertainment purposes only. So once we learn that a lot of parents don't know how to deal with their social and emotional skills, then I think we'll be better at trying to find programs and trying to find ways to help our parents. So once we help the parents from the top, we can help the students at the bottom.
Okay, thank you. Okay, another one. How do you discipline children and teach them complex issues like AI?
I just a quick comment on this. Nothing too exhausting, but by how the question is worded, it's a little odd. For me, it says, how do you discipline children? And it's not. I don't really think it's about like disciplining children to learn something complex. If you make it fun to learn, I mean, children want to learn. Let's start there. They come out, wanting to explore, wanting to figure out like what's around them, wanting to ask questions and things like this. Everyone is, we're all curious by nature. So it's not so much discipline. It's more so just encouraging, children to ask questions and to, think about, how to problem solve and things like that. So, I mean, if we build just an environment of, learning, self-discovery, things like that, all of these, quote unquote complex, issues like AI, it wouldn't be so complex at all. And to be completely honest, a lot of these topics that even sound complex are not complex at its core. A lot of these things are very simple ideas, and it's just, you just have to like think deeply about it. But, the overall, general concept is very simple. So, I guess my answer to that would just be to, foster an environment where, creative thinking and questions are, encouraged, basically. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Some children don't have. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't know you could see it, but go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, this. So I'm reading the question. It's like I'm just. It says some children don't know how to read when they're confronted with unfamiliar topics and get disrupted in class to prevent their peers from making fun of them because of the lack of knowledge. So I think this the root. I think that's the cause of these things. I think the root cause of it is the education system. The fact that we're grading students to begin with, and honestly, I think it's ridiculous, to be honest. We should not be giving people grades A, B, C, D, and F, because when you give kids grades, you're telling them that it's okay to fail. And like the mind-blowing thing about that is business owner, everybody, anyone that's doing anything significant will tell you that failing is actually part of the reason for their success. So when students, get you like when they're just like bothered by a lack of education, it's because we've built this culture of, hey, you cannot be wrong, you can't mess up, you have to get an A, you have to get these B, you have to get these A's and B's, and it's like that's really where it starts. We have to make really communicate to the young that failing is okay, and actually failing is part of success. So honestly, I think that'll get rid of any of these kind of statements, to be honest. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you.
So my thoughts on that is some children don't know how to read. That is the case, but that's when you have those experienced teachers. Like I always say, I brag on all of my teachers at my center. They make the classroom fun, and they make the classroom feel like a community. So it goes back to the teachers, and it also goes back to the leadership of that school. Once you make your classroom fun and make your classroom a community and make your classroom know, hey, we don't judge our friends. We might be on this level and they're on this level, but we are still as one. So once we learn how to do that and get teachers that actually care about teaching instead of getting the profession just for a check, it will be a whole different ball game, because you have some teachers who get in this profession just for, oh, I want to be a teacher because my mom was a teacher and I could just let them do busy work. But then you have some teachers who actually take the time, let the children read in the classroom, let the children read out loud, let the children know it's okay to make their mistake. We're not here to judge you, we're here to help you. And those teachers will make a lasting impression on those students. I have students that come to me still to this day that's now in first, second, and third grade and say, hey, Ms. Rashad, thank you so much. And they're reading and they have fun learning because we made it fun to learn. And actually, we made it fun to, it's okay to make mistakes. You're human. Humans make mistakes. So once we get people that actually care about teaching and actually let the students know it's okay to make mistakes, then a lot of problems will be dismissed. But then you also have to let the parents know, hey, we're helping your children at school. Please help them at home on a personal level to get their confidence, gain self-confidence, and to also let them know that you are loved. You are not just here, that you actually can do things with your life and you can be someone.
Thank you. Okay, the next one, how do we train parents in both reading and AI so they can support the education in the classroom?
Can I get this one too? Unless somebody else want to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So difficulty parents, to be honest, let's be realistic. Like a lot of parents haven't been in school for some time. When you're out of school and you're out of like just kind of like that study mindset, and like you're thinking about life in general, paying bills, taking care of kids. No parent is going to think about studying AI. But it's just, I'll just answer the question how it is. For those parents who are still in an open mindset of learning. I'm studying AI could be as simple as looking at a YouTube video. To be honest, look up what ChatGPT is, look what AI is, look up how and ask AI, how a parent can learn AI to support their children. And for those parents who aren't in that kind of like learning mindset at this point, I think the best way to for parents to help their kids is to support their kids. Don't when they're on social media or when they're on like these AI platforms and things like this, don't like discourage them from using it. Actually encourage them. Hey, you should use AI for this. You should use AI for that. Just kind of like suggest it, because a lot of kids these days are a lot more like technically savvy than their parents to begin with. So that support system is on the best that they do for their kids, just realistically speaking. So my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. I think this concludes our panel one. Back to Dr. Kareem?
Thank you all for your participation, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all as our experts in both AI and education. Memphis is really one of the things that people have not acknowledged but needs to be acknowledged is that not only does Memphis have abundance of human capacity in terms of people, but they have, again, the world's largest supercomputer. If we can bring those two resources together, the people and the largest supercomputer together, and give our people the training that they need, starting from the parents to the educators to the students, there's no way other than, a curse from the Almighty that would prevent Memphis from accelerating. If we can, but it really does require, as was stated before, the people have to want it. Right now, some of the people in Memphis are protesting, asking for XAI to be evicted from Memphis. Think about it. The world's largest supercomputer is in your hometown, and you want it to be shut down. It's incredible to even comprehend. People don't, but the reason is because people don't understand. They, for example, they look at Silicon Valley, or they look at Detroit in the time of the automotive explosion, and these things started off as things that we didn't know about, perhaps, or didn't understand the technologies. But then all of a sudden, Silicon Valley became Silicon Valley. Detroit was not even a city, but then it became Detroit, and all the other suburbs that came up, and all the other businesses that came up, and all the other money and the good paying jobs that came up. This is where Memphis is today. And I think that what we need to do, the business community and XAI and all the other companies need to do a better job at just explaining exactly how powerful an opportunity this is for our people. And I don't think that they're doing a good enough job. And I hope that they will invest more time and energy, and the business community does the same. So then the people can better understand just what's on the table for them. So again, thank you all, and we will get ready for the panel too.
When it comes to jail reform, Josh Spickler and his organization Just City have been at the forefront.
Well, I think what we've seen in Shelby County historically is overuse of our jail.
Just City and other organizations called for change regarding who is locked up and for how long.
And what we found was that it's not constitutional. We said we would like for Shelby County to get in compliance with state law. And if Shelby County refuses to do that, we believe we have a good lawsuit.
The lawsuit was never filed because the county agreed to make changes.
It's money. So much of this system is dependent upon whether you have money or not.
Out of negotiations came the bail system Shelby County has today. Individualized bail hearings within 72 hours of arrest.
We'd never had that before. We'd never given people attorneys as quickly as we are now for that process.
And the consideration of factors like ability to pay when setting bail. But some say the changes had another result, the rampant crime we're now seeing.
It's not the jaywalkers that are causing the problems here. It's the violent offenders, the people who have rap sheets as long as King Kong's arm that are being released back into the public. And we see this time and time and time again.
They say criminals who should have remained behind bars are getting out and committing even more crime, sometimes deadly. Like the shooting that killed Memphis police officer Joseph McKinney earlier this year. 18-year-old Jalen Lobley, who was also killed, had recently been released from jail without bond after being found with a stolen car. He is also said to have had an illegal Glock switch that turned a handgun into a machine gun.
We've seen the case of Jalen Lobley and Officer McKinney, and he had gotten out on his own recognizance. And so it's bringing back a lot of attention that the bail system is the problem.
With the Officer McKinney case, it was absolutely the truth. And that was a case where the system failed. Because the system fails. It's a system made up of people, and it's imperfect, and it's always going to be imperfect, no matter how many improvements we make to it. He got a bail amount, a decision that was very normal, that was in keeping with the rules that we helped set out. It was in keeping with history in Shelby County. The decision that judicial commissioner made was the right one. In hindsight, it was the exact wrong one.
Some are now calling for judicial commissioners to be eliminated. Senator Brent Taylor wants to consider having judges decide bail.
Those decisions ought to be made by judges who are held accountable to the public and have to stand for election.
The Shelby County Commission appoints judicial commissioners. Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris thinks it's time to change that.
We should probably take the county commission out of the selection process for judicial commissioners. It'd be a better approach to have, the Shelby County mayor. I've still got a couple 2 years in office, but the next Shelby County mayor and so forth, to have a role in the selection process. I think that would make the process a little bit more deliberate.
Senator Taylor was also behind removing ability to pay as a consideration for bail, citing Jalen Lobley as an example.
He went to the bail hearing room where they used the ability to pay calculator and determined that he had no resources, so they essentially let him out on his own recognizance. Had we not had that ability to pay calculator, perhaps we could have had a different outcome.
Ability to pay is not the end-all be-all. It's part of the system. It has to be part of the system so that we avoid wealth-based detention.
Spickler says the claims of bail causing a revolving door of crime is actually not true. He says Just City data shows people out on bail are very rarely charged with a violent crime, less than 2% of the time.
When we're talking about bail and bail changes, it's working. There's no data to suggest that it's not. The critics do not bring to us data that say violence is going up because we're letting more people out of jail. That's not true, I don't believe.
He says the problem is a system that has been broken for a long time, and you have to look outside of bail first.
To attack bail reform and the changes we've made in Shelby County right now is completely misguided. There's no data to support it. In fact, there's data to support that it's made us safer.
For your news leader in Shelby County, April Thompson, WREG Investigators.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
I have to poop, but it feels stuck. Stop! Are you trying to?
Okay, we're back, and we are joined by some outstanding people who are going to talk us about the other end of that pipeline, and that is the court system. So again, we talked about how young people start in preschool and how they somehow matriculate into the jails, and that process starts oftentimes, as we've discussed with our students, in the first court that many children encounter. Some may think, and let me ask the chat, which is the first court that a child may encounter. Some may put it into the chat. Let's see what you might say. What's the first court that the child may encounter? For all of our audience, let me know. What do you think the first court is? And as we are doing that, I want to bring on our guests. I think we have one guest, but one of our student moderators, Ms. Polk. I think her video is not working right now, so we'll wait for her to activate her video. And in the meantime, let me bring on our other guests, and that is none other than Stacy Brooks, who's the Chief Program Officer of the remarkable organization Persevere Now. And I think now Ms. Polk is back with us. Ms. Polk, how are you doing?
I am fine. How are you?
Great. And again, I will just speak a little bit about Stacy Brooks and also Ms. Polk. First, Ms. Polk, our moderator, is a student at the Lemoyne on College, one of our business legal environment students. And I think she's also a parent, as I understand, and also a businesswoman. So again, she understands this issue from both angles. And then also Ms. Brooks. Ms. Brooks is a chief program officer for one of the leading organizations that is offering coding and training in the IT area for incarcerated individuals, and not only the individuals but also their children who are again back at home. This is an amazing organization that STEM for Us. We have been working on trying to develop a relationship with them for years, and we're grateful that the Almighty saw fit to finally connect us, because STEM for Us has been working to secure grant funding to do exactly what they are doing. And so we're very excited to now have made the connection, and hopefully will undertake an MOU to create a partnership so we can begin scaling this wonderful work across the country. So, Ms. Polk, I think one of our other guests is waiting to log in. And so while they are logging in, we will give you the control to ask the questions, and I will be a panelist along with Ms. Brooks in the meantime.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Hello, my name is Tyara Polk, and I'm going to talk about the reform. Let's see. So I have a question. It says, how can restructuring family courts, such as streamlining case management or enhancing mental health support, reduce youth involvement in the justice system?
So that's a great question. Persevere has recently, I would say over the last year and a half, been working with Davidson County Juvenile Justice Center with Judge Calloway. And one of the things that we wanted to do was touch children before they became our adults in the adult prison system. And part of that approach is not only providing a form of technology training for those youth, but also providing case management, mental health, and a full wraparound approach. But that approach doesn't just start and end with the youth itself. It starts with the entire family. because at the end of the day, our kids are going to go right back into the same homes with the same environment that they left from and the same friends. And sometimes our parents don't even realize the opportunity that is there for them and their kids to ensure that potentially we can reroute that behavior from happening again. So we expanded our program from just Davidson County Juvenile Justice. We now work with Wayne Halfway House and 2 other juvenile detention centers. And we started a program at Wilder. And all of us know that our youth at Wilder, about 80% of them are going to go right back into Shelby County. And so during the whole process of, really trying to figure out how we can provide that wraparound service, we also realized that one of the things we had to do was partner with other organizations like Block Squad Memphis, because a lot of our kids are involved in violent crime due to gang affiliation. And so having somebody who's walked in their shoes, found their own path outside of that, even experienced some of the juvenile justice hardships, are some great mentors for our kids. And so it's really that wraparound approach. And Miss Owens from the Shelby County Juvenile Justice Center, we signed an MOU with them, and our goal is to become more involved in the court system so that we can start as soon as that child walks in the courtroom and provide them with those opportunities and that assistance.
Thank you so much for answering that question. I have another question. It says, what role can AI-driven mentoring tools play in supporting family court reforms for at-risk youth?
So prior to coming to Persevere, we have a for-profit sister company called Vantage. And Vantage has created a risk and needs assessment where you can take a look at not only the juvenile's prior criminal history, but also the adult side. And so if we allow technology-driven platforms to have a non-biased opinion on that individual, and it really look at the needs, right? What are the needs of that person? What programming can we provide that person to reduce that risk, to potentially move them into a positive pro-social environment? But the great thing about AI, and I was just telling somebody this the other day, it's a combination of things. It's AI plus empathy plus transparency, and that equals a changed life. And so if we can put that technology in the court system and allow those biases to be removed and look at what the data says to support it, I firmly believe it's going to give the judges, the DAs, a much better approach in how to handle that current situation. And it kind of goes back to what Just City said, right? There's data to support things, but sometimes our bias kind of gets in the way. And if we've got that data and we allow AI technology to step in and help reroute that, I think we solve a lot of our problems.
Thank you so much. Another question. How effective do you think AI-driven mentoring tools can be in supporting family court reforms to reduce youth justice system's involvement on a scale from 1 to 5?
Oh, a 10. And the reason I say that is often when a child enters the justice system, that's really the first step. So one of the things that was asked in the beginning is, what is the first step for a child, right? When it's entering in that school to prison pipeline, it's really the justice system. And so if we can utilize AI to help with mentoring and kind of recognize some of those things prior to it happening, we can help with early interventions like truancy and looking at them missing too much school. We can look at minor fights at school because sometimes that gets criminalized too, right? Curfew violations, disorderly conduct arrest, home environment issues like neglect or abuse or dependency cases. But if we utilize those tools in the very beginning and we even teach our parents how to utilize AI And in their day-to-day activities, I use AI in every single thing I do. Most of my staff probably think that I am brilliant with my emails. And a lot of it is my thoughts, but at the end of the day, trying to make sure that I am looking at everything I do from a holistic approach, a lot of times AI helps me look at that from a higher view. And I think if we would not be so scared of AI and embrace it and bring it into our court systems, I think there's going to be a shift.
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree. I don't have any more questions.
Can I chime in there and I'll say that first of all, can you speak to both of you guys what Miss Smith's statement is? I think she raises a good statement. Then I have another comment to add.
So Miss Smith is 100% correct. We do have to recognize redemption. And let me kind of tell you Persevere's vision. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why this entire mission is so important to me. I do have lived experiences. And so I did serve 2 years and 8 months in our criminal justice system within the state of Tennessee. And I was a professional before. And so I had skills to start my own company and to thrive in society. But one of the things that I noticed while I was incarcerated is I was surrounded by women who had codependency. They had severe trauma, whether it was childhood trauma or due to domestic violence. And then let's just be real, going to jail and prison is a whole nother set of trauma on top of, right? But I kept watching around me and trying to figure out why I was in the position I was in at that time and how I was supposed to take my experiences and my professional experience and go back into the world. And what was I supposed to change? What was God's pathway for me? And that is when I met our founder. And like I said, he owned a for-profit company that is a software development company that is really driven by AI and data. We talk data more than anybody should ever probably talk data. But the whole goal for our organization is to provide opportunity, reduce mass incarceration, reduce recidivism. The state of Tennessee has less than a 3% recidivism rate out of over 700 people that we have served. But it all begins with technology. Technology is not the end all be all, but it is the beginning. And that's how doors are open. And we can teach technology. And even I lived in Memphis for 2 years while we got our program up and going. We're in 17 prisons, 1 jail in all 95 counties across the state of Tennessee. And while data itself is important, sometimes we lose who the human is in the middle of it. And so, for instance, when you think about when you're born, you're given a birth certificate, right, with a number. And then you get a social security card. And then you get a driver's license with a number. And then you get married and you get another number. And then you get arrested. And then you get a whole bunch of numbers, right? Because then you've got an NCIC number and a Fed number and a state and county number and all those different things. And then the IRS recognizes you with a number. So data is important, right? Because we collect all that data, our demographics and our criminal history from numbers. But a lot of times we lose that human aspect. And so in the first panel, it was mentioned, what you enter into AI is what matters, because you can even put your own bias into what you're entering in AI and it come out a completely different way. But if we come together and we utilize AI not only to help drive change, but we also use AI as a way of opening doors for individuals with a criminal background, or those that have been less fortunate and face extreme barriers to employment, stop with the checkbox. If you're going to use AI to eliminate somebody, use AI to see how they fit. And so I think that there's a lot that can kind of go in, not only to how do we handle a youth when they're going through the justice system or an adult, but also how do we utilize AI to really bring employers together to think completely different about how we open those doors for second chances.
if I could also add to that point, I think that the training, first of all, that Ms. Brooks is doing in her organization is amazing. One of the things, though, however, that we have heard in the press, and I think that everybody also knows this, especially those in Memphis, is that our jails are overcrowded. And the whole system itself takes so long, even on a capital murder conviction. Somebody is found guilty and they may not have their sentence administered for decades, even if at all. So clearly this system itself is breeding the type of challenge that we're facing in our communities. We have to use a system that works and brings justice more prompt and more definitive, where the victims are actually able to feel some closure and maybe even some remediation. So in other countries where there's a low crime rate, they have, for example, various means of capital punishment. So, for example, if you steal something, you get your hand chopped off. If you kill someone, then the family of the person who you've killed has the option of determining whether they will accept your life, or in exchange for your life, whether they will accept some form of payment, which could take you years to pay off, or you could pay off up front. Nevertheless, in those systems, you don't have a need to constantly build jails, because one, people are not doing the crimes, and then two, again, the sentences are not exclusively jail. They are, again, sentences that can be executed upon immediately. What do you think, both you, Ms. Polk, and also Ms. Brooks, about changing radically our criminal justice system itself to perhaps draw upon models that are working in other countries, for example?
Ms. Polk, you want to go first, or
go first?
Okay. We do have one of the highest incarcerated conviction and crime rates in the entire world. And there are some states that are really thinking ahead. And sometimes when we think about our justice system and how long it takes for someone to go through a trial, right? Pre-trial is sometimes really long, and a lot of the reason has to do with just our courts being overwhelmed with all of the cases that are coming through the door. But I think that is, I'm going to go back to, I think everything is still going to be driven by a form of technology. If we are utilizing technology to be at the forefront of those things, let's go back to even jail. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our for-profit company, our sister company. They created it's a bail initiative or a bail assessment to kind of look to see, because bail is one of those things that if you are arrested and it is not a major crime, 9 times out of 10 you can't afford to post bond. And so as you sit in jail waiting to go to court or waiting for pretrial, you lose everything: your job, your children, your home. And I say that because I was one, where I sat for 3 months just waiting for a bond for a nonviolent technical violation of probation. So in that 3-month period, I lost everything I had for a $1,000 bond. Should never have taken 3 months. It shouldn't take anybody 3 months to get a bond. But if those things are being driven by technology, or you're using a assessment to look, does that person have a job? Does that person own their home? Does that person, own a car and make car payments? Do they have children? Is this the first time that they've ever committed a crime? if there is a technology that kind of drives some of those answers and it helps you set a bond, or even an AI system that can help you set court dates without the human doing it. Because I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but when you walk into a courtroom and the clerk of court comes in, they've got a stack of files. And all that does is set up human error, not maliciously, but it's human error, right? So if we can push all of those documents into a technology-driven database where it's pushing out when is court, there's summaries that are being presented to the judge ahead of time. So the judge, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'm like, do you guys really sit and read those? And I'm sure they probably do, but I'm like, there's so many case files, right? So how can we use technology to really kind of step in and push those initiatives forwards? If we can create those systems and we can reduce the human error and yet still be proactive and getting everybody pushed through, right? We have legislative orders that say a person has to have a fair, firm, and consistent opportunity at their court case, right? Like, we're all proven innocent until we are found guilty, but we sit for so long. And that doesn't just hurt the person, but it also hurts the families, the victims' families, or just the victims as a whole. It hurts our communities, and the taxpayer dollars that go into it is ridiculous. And we can take all of that and put it into a system that can push those things. And until we can provide that preschool to prison, I'm going to say block, because I'm going to talk positive, but if we can provide that block to kind of slow down that process and provide opportunity, I think we have to invest in systems that remove a little bit of the human. Not saying that the human has to be removed completely, because the human aspect is extremely important, but let's work smarter by using technology and utilizing AI to assist us in moving in that right direction. And the other thing, to remember is, as we're looking at a person and them coming into the court system, ask why. Why did you get to where you are? Because it's not like somebody woke up that morning and said, I'm going to commit that crime. There are some cases, but a lot of people don't just wake up that day and decide that that's what they're going to do, unless a person is facing something where they feel like they don't have any hope left. And so my favorite quote is, the most dangerous person is a person with no hope. And so if we can start providing resources even prior to, for those individuals that are facing barriers, whether it's barriers to housing or employment or transportation or childcare or mental health, until we really step in and start providing those wraparound services, those files are just going to keep piling up, and we're going to keep prolonging the pre-trial and the trial time, and it harms everybody around us. And so I think that we, I don't know, at the end of the day, it is going to have to be some type of AI or technology driven to get us to that next stage.
Wow, I really appreciate that point. And we were just joined by Commissioner Brittany Thornton, who I'm sure can lend her perspective about how we bring down the numbers of people who are in the trial process where justice is being delayed. We were just listening to one report about how one idea is to make bail, for example, the purview of judges as opposed to hearing commissioners, which would give a little bit more weight and experience to the decisions that are being made. Another question was whether or not we should adopt methodologies that other countries are using, where crime is almost non-existent, and they don't have people again serving only sentences in jails, because they have other means of executing sentences. So it's a more restorative type of justice, as opposed to jail being the only mechanism for punishment. And then we talked about the training that should be taking place while people are incarcerated in Ms. Brooks's organization. And we're looking forward to partnering with that to expand providing cyber training. But one thing I'd like to ask you, Commissioner, as you think about these is, there are some people like the gentleman that was on whose bond, they gave a no cash bond, and then he shot up some police officers and he was shot. And, even another case where a young man went into a shooting spree and just started shooting people. And another case where, boys, shot one child and then went back to make sure he was, shot again. These are the types of young people who are out where, literally they have no love for themselves, let alone somebody who looks like them. Depravity is what they are showing, they're exhibiting. How do we, and then when they get into jails, they become, basically, even worse. So how do we deal with that, which is not, sadly, an exception these days, but seems to become more and more the rule? Commissioner?
Hi, everyone. I appreciate you for holding this forum and having me be able to be part of it. By no means, Professor, are those light questions. A lot of people don't really realize this, but my background is in prison social work. And so I've done a lot of work within the Philadelphia prison system. And really, I'm just a lover of reentry work. And so when I throw on my commission hat, I do have to remind everyone of separation of powers. So I serve in the legislative branch, and by no means do I feel like I am a expert on what's happening within the judicial side of government. I will just say, just from my perspective, dynamics that we have to factor in are definitely state level factors. I know that the judicial commissioners and judges, they come and talk to the commission often, and there's a lot of just differing opinions about how our bail system is working and operating. And, sometimes it's kind of hard for me even just to follow the tensions of just how people are siding on this particular issue. Are we doing it well? Are we doing it, horribly? You can see that our DA is under a lot of scrutiny by one of our senators. And so it's a lot there. And I think that poses a challenge to us being able to get into a more restorative focus when we're so split, on what intervention or what our operation should and could look like. So with that being said, we are in the state of Tennessee. And so, my friend that's a county councilwoman in Maryland just passed that government would fund the fertility treatments of county workers. And when I think about what that looks like here applied in Shelby County, I don't view us as being a progressive county. And a lot of that has to do because of our tethering to this extremely conservative Texas and Florida competing state. And so those dynamics factored in here locally, I think that we can start to organize to build out our more progressive stance. Even you just talking about the alternative sentencing just felt so progressive, so beyond what I've experienced Shelby County to be, and that shouldn't be the norm. And I think that definitely that's something that our colleges and universities here can play a crucial role, because we know we have more progressive minds saturated at that level. What does it look like for our students to be able to set that agenda and push it and present it to government to adopt? So there's great opportunity here. I'll just say that we right now have a $1 billion building that does not have a budget. And 201 has reached the point of no return. And currently, in my personal opinion, the facility is actually aiding the desks inside, because it hits so much of the culture in 201 is tied to the facility. And so I've done some group work in 201, and I just can't tell you just how much we need to prioritize this $1 billion project to be able to get a new jail facility. And I have to remind people all the time that, a jail is a detention facility. We have our Department of Corrections. for people who are sentenced, this is a holding place. And so right now it feels like a prison. And so one of the biggest things that we can do is to be able to ensure that when people come into our holding facility, that they are not even more traumatized. So you can imagine getting a bail, but you've spent 1 year, 2 years in 201. And I would dare say, like, the person that came in, even if they were the worst, you're leaving out even more worse. And so it's just like that building is mind altering. That building is energy shifting. That building is creating a level of toxicity that we are not accounting for, that is re-entering to our community, whether you're sentenced or not. And so, yeah, the facility piece is a big piece. It's very unfortunate that the isolated incidents that headline become the norm, because there's so many people who have been given a bail and successfully reported and come back. But we keep the Ezekiel Kellys and others at the forefront of our minds. And I think to a certain extent, we have to check ourselves not to overextend a misperception that becomes like, people's understanding. And then also just, keep the standard. I mean, there's always going to be some unfortunate case that's going to come out of a sentencing when it comes to the bonds that are set and the bail hearing process. But if the overwhelming majority of the bonds that are being set are being met and that people are reporting, then I think that we can't ignore that data, and that needs to just be factored into people's perception of it. So I do think that we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. We're not wanting to hold people as long, but then these major headlines that happen to have an undertone of any type of relevance, they're taking us a step back. So it's a complicated process. I think that your question probably wanted an answer, and I can't quite give something explicit, but all the factors, I think that everyone just has to apply themselves to one of these sub dynamics to figure out how you can work it and resolve it. And we will find ourselves eating the elephant bit by bit, which I've been told is just the process anyway. So, I appreciate this forum and what it does to help people figure out where their passions are. And I just encourage people just to tap in wherever they see an opportunity. So I think we're moving in a direction, and we probably should figure out how to hasten our pace to be able to make more change in a shorter amount of time.
Well, thank you,
Go ahead.
Ms. Brooks. I know that we're actually out of time, but we want to keep this conversation flowing. And I would say, Commissioner, one thing to, and I don't know if you were able to stay along for the next panel, but one of the things that came out earlier that I want to just convey to you is just the power of the technology that is on our doorsteps here in Memphis. The access to the world's largest supercomputer, the colossal computer, is no small, feat. And supercomputers are created to solve super problems. And the problems that you just talked about, Commissioner, about overcrowding in jails, or the even preschool to prison pipeline, that's the exact type of problem that a supercomputer can solve. And so what we would hope that you would do is that the council, or the commission rather, would engage not only again the folks from XAI, but other companies that are coming into Memphis, hopefully to set up shop to be co-located near Colossal, is that you would again do what I think you all are doing, and that is forcing them to come to the table, to be engaged, and then hopefully encourage them to invest their technology in helping to solve the problems of right here at home. And I think that if that's the outcome, as opposed to, again, screaming for them to leave Memphis, which would be a devastation, I believe, if that were to occur, but to engage them where they're, again, becoming a value added, and people are seeing that, then I think that Memphis could literally become the Silicon Valley of artificial intelligence, and all kinds of opportunities could come out of that. with that said, Commissioner, do you have, I don't know if you have any comments on that one, but if not, we'll go ahead.
There's a lot. I just attended a meeting at Fairleigh last night, and there's a lot of pushback to the Elon Musk operation, and it's just hard for me to wrap my head around the opportunities when we see how they are circumventing the standard, and people are literally concerned about their safety. And so I am aware that the XAI operation has made a lot of silent investments across the county. So I would just encourage Lemoyne to be able to reach out to figure out how, in terms of just like fiscal support, that you could tap into that. I mean, we do have a billionaire in our backyard, so it doesn't hurt to be able to access those funds and get that investment and just see how that can help the everything that you mentioned. I think, we talked about recently on the commission about the use of AI. And I think that this is a novel concept in government. Government is known to move slow. And, here you have ChatGPT advancing people. I just wrote a grant the other day in 15 minutes, and normally it would take me hours. And so, when you think about what this could look like when you overlay just our criminal justice system, just our processing and all that, it is exciting. It's just new. And I just, just to manage people's expectations, don't associate government with just jumping in bed with innovation and efficiency very easily. But I can't stress enough that at the collegiate and the collegiate level, that you guys have the potential to drive for what's possible. And, you can create legislation, and you present it to one of your elected legislators, and they can present it and get it on the floor and passed. And so I don't think that we position our students, particularly our college students, enough to know the power that they can make. So as you're researching and you're coming up with creative ideas, I do encourage the students to create those legislative relationships so that they can try and get some of their legislation passed. And that opens up a wide array of opportunities for more progressive things to come. We just, if you're depending on part-time electeds to just all of a sudden just come up with these innovative and progressive ideas, sometimes that's a slower process, but that doesn't stop things from being presented to us that we can just champion from the floor. So there's a huge missed opportunity there. And I think that is more in your wheelhouse and what you guys can actively start working on to be able to make immediate changes.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. Well said. And we are grateful for you, for Ms. Tatiana Polk, our student, and of course, our special guest, Stacy Brooks, and our sponsor. And we're looking forward to doing some amazing work with you. For any of the audience members, please take a minute to jot down that survey link and provide us some comments and feedback, because this data we are using in our own AI generated software to improve the work that we're doing for you. And so we really need that. So without any further ado, we will again exit and get ready for the next panel. And many of the panels are in the back room waiting to join us. So thank you all so very much. Thank you, Commissioner Dorton, I know you have a very busy schedule for joining and taking time. Thank you, Ms. Brooks, and we're really looking forward, excited about working with you. And again, congratulations, Ms. Polk. You've been working on this for the entire semester, and job well done.
Thank you so much.
And so we will take a quick pause and be right back with the next panel. All right. Well, we are grateful to be back with you, and we have some exciting speakers and exciting panelists who are joining us for panel 3, the economic, healthcare, and workplace impacts of the preschool to prison pipeline. You have with you our student moderator, Miss Bellamy. We're grateful, Miss Bellamy, that you are with us. How are you, Miss Bellamy?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Tatiana Bellamy, a business student at the Lemoyne Owen College. And we also have Rome Withers, a legend, a historian. Rome, are you able to turn on your camera there, Brother Withers? Brother Withers, okay. Hopefully he will be able to turn on his camera shortly. And then, oh, there he is. Withers. How you doing there, Brother Rome?
I'm good, good. How you doing, Brother Delete?
Great, thank you so much. And then we also have Kelly Walton, who is actually a representative from the Memphis Police Department, Violent Crime Intervention Fund Director. And she is not a graduate from the Lemoyne Owen College, but also nevertheless a graduate from the other college that we have in town, and that is the University of Memphis. And we are definitely grateful that she has invested herself into breaking the preschool to prison pipeline, and through the wonderful work that the organization she leads is doing. And then we have Sharifa Maston, a HR technology executive, and also the co-founder of Mission to Change. And so we're grateful to have you all. I will turn this over to Ms. Bellamy. And Ms. Bellamy, I think that you had a video that you wanted to show, as I understand, about some of the challenges that were being faced in terms of the healthcare and other things, other economic impacts facing us through the preschool to prison pipeline. And I think it's a very wonderful video. And so I'm going to tee that up for you, and we'll get a chance to actually have some conversation about that video while you guys are thinking and looking at that video. We have some questions that Ms. Bellamy has teed up for you as well. So look forward to that, and we'll go ahead and again toggle off and let Ms. Bellamy introduce that wonderful video that I think is very interesting, because again, a lot of people don't know that the impacts, particularly on our health system, are monumental, but it goes and spans beyond the just the physical health, but also into the mental health, many other elements. So again, without any further ado, I will turn it to you, Miss Bellamy, and you can, if you want to introduce the video, you can do that. So take it away.
Hello, my name is Tatiana Bellamy. I am I'm Spanish now, but I am a Lemoyne Owen student, currently in this class, Business Environment, Legal Systems. And while he's providing the video, when it posts, we can talk about the video.
Fully equipped him. Book with us. casual lodging.
Well, the long-awaited unveiling of the new Shelby County Youth Justice and Education Center is finally here, and it comes with more beds, classrooms, and it's twice the size of the previous one in downtown Memphis. Our Stephen Pimpo has more tonight.
Those overseeing the Justice Center stressed its purpose is about rehabilitation, not incarceration. Juvenile justice advocates I spoke with say that's all well and good, but that's something that will require oversight of those in charge of that rehabilitation. Rehabilitation and education. Those are the words Shelby County leaders used Wednesday when describing the new Youth Justice and Education Center. The nearly 86,000 square foot facility has 146 beds, 9 classrooms, and counseling services. Delvin Lane of youth intervention group Block Squad Memphis believes the new facility can help teenagers come out of detention less likely to reoffend.
It keeps them alive. They're not getting shot at. They're not shooting up houses. They're not out stealing cars. They got a chance to talk to people about trauma that they've been going through and get employment, get education.
But says accountability for those in charge is needed to truly view success.
Somebody overseeing them, holding them accountable, listening to what the kids are saying.
Cardell Oren with the Memphis and Shelby County Justice and Safety Alliance is hopeful the education and job programs can offer real change, but has concerns about the building size.
Yes, there are more beds, and we hope that there's not a race to fill those beds up.
Oren also has questions about the resources poured into the center.
We went on a tour with one of the young people who's been involved in the justice system, and one of the responses she had was, well, this is nice. There's a lot of great things in here, but why can't we have these things on the outside before we get detained?
According to the Memphis Shelby County Crime Commission, 186 juveniles have been charged with serious crimes so far this year. That's on pace to pass the 203 total such cases from last year.
Fully equipped gym.
So after watching the video, I felt that it was kind of impactful. It was informational as well, due to the fact that, the way crime is now in Memphis is extremely high at that time, and consists of juveniles, no specific age, but lately it has been a lot of the younger kids, which needs an avenue, needs resources and things of that nature. And I thought that was a good idea. I also got from the video as well the question that another, I believe someone had asked, is provided inside of the facility, but what is provided on the outside, so that before that they make it to that step as far as incarceration or making it to the center or behind the bars, what's provided before they make it that far. So I have a few questions for you guys. Number one question is, how do increased dropout rates linked to early school discipline policies contribute to long-term economic burdens on local communities? If anyone can answer that question.
I guess I could I'll go first on this one. Could you, and make sure I have your question correct. Could you repeat it again for me, just that first part of it?
How do increased dropout rates linked to early school discipline policies contribute to long-term economic burdens on local communities?
Okay. So one, I think we want to decrease the dropout rate, right? And what we need to do is actually, it does start early, and we need to change some of the policies when we talk about restorative justice or those programs. We talk about what got them there, right? But sometimes it's a very minor infraction. The same thing needs to apply to schools. We need to adjust. It needs to be looked at holistically. Suspension. When a student is suspended, it actually leads to further negative actions by them, right? Which there is a direct correlation between suspension in school leading to incarceration and getting in trouble. So we do need to change the way we address it in the school system. You know, if it's minor, we need to treat it as such. When you are suspending kids, you're putting them out on the street, they might not have supervision, right? Idle hands and minds, right? You know, sort of what do they get involved in? And so I do believe we need to have counselors involved. So when someone does get in trouble, it's looked at holistically. Is there an issue going on at home that is impacting that student's behavior, right? I remember being in school, they used to have in-school suspension so I could still learn, but I was separated from the majority of class. Now I just say me, we all done it, you know, we've done stuff, but you know, and it made a difference versus me being at home or on the streets during the day. I was still being educated, there was still oversight, and me being in there, even at one time, I remember the way they were acting made sure I did not want to go back. You know, so it helped me change how I behaved. But I also we had guidance counselors who were very involved in the discipline actions, so that it wasn't such a reactionary. It was really looked at what happened and what can we do to change it. Um, I'll pass to another one of my panel members if they like to go.
Sure, I will go after that. I think that it's very imperative that we are proactive, as you mentioned, instead of being reactive, and being intentional about the investment that we're making early on into engaging our young people and making sure that we're maximizing opportunity for them to be productive and be successful. I think that it has to be a holistic approach. Working with the Memphis Police Department, our Chief CJ Davis is very ingrained in making sure that we're prioritizing a holistic approach to how we're maximizing engagement opportunities with our young people, and making sure that we're making a meaningful investment in programs such as the opportunities for we have counseling services, youth services. This investment that I have the privilege to serve in this capacity is bringing about a $20 million investment into nonprofit agencies throughout the city of Memphis, to making sure that we are providing those very necessary resources to engage individuals who are looking for something to be productive and to be engaged in. And so I think that, to your point, there has to be a commitment to those type of resources. There has to be consistent engagement. I think that we have to continue to not only do this from a governmental perspective or policy, but it definitely starts in our communities and our neighborhoods and getting everyone involved in making this effort to be engaged. And I think that that is definitely helping to consistently create those opportunities.
We have a question. In the summer months, youth don't have anything to do. And even during the school year, what can be done to increase the jobs year round for students to work and make better use of their time?
I think for that one, I think we do need community to get involved. You know, we have a lot of businesses in local communities need to look at having local internships, apprenticeships, partnering with different organizations, whether they be governmental or nonprofit or private organizations. Because I do believe it takes leaders in the community that help generate these opportunities for young people. And so that's one of my suggestions, is that we increase those opportunities through various programs. And it does mean partnering. We can't do it ourselves. You know, we need to partner so that we can pull our resources together and expand the reach of what we're doing.
And also the City of Memphis Office of Youth Services does have phenomenal programming opportunities for their employee program. I know that Shelby County also have a youth program for the summer where they employ young people to be in different business and organizations. The City of Memphis also does have a ambassador program that they allow individuals to serve and have stipends throughout the year. And then there's also a multitude of different agencies that are partnering to the partnership component. So I think continuing to expand those resources and engage young people in those different ways continues that pipeline to success in our community.
Brother Rome, your microphone is picking up your signal, so I think that you might have the video from the actual program playing at the same time that you're in the studio. So please disconnect that, and then we can get your feedback. And I will just add a question that you can double down on that. Is that might be an opportunity for AI to actually get into the mix. Kelly, you mentioned that the jobs that are there, but the AI can actually create for you the tracking that you need to determine, one, how many job opportunities are businesses, including the Memphis and Shelby County government, putting up for youth every year, and does that match the number of the youth? And if not, what needs to be done in terms of job creation to actually match that? And then even, for example, match attendance, match job training. I mean, again, that's just how phenomenal AI is as a tool, and we would really encourage you guys to think about that. But again, Brother Rome, your phone is still picking up that signal. I think you have to disconnect from the video that you might be tracking. You might have the YouTube playing at the same time, so you might need to log out of that YouTube and then be able to speak. So let us know when you get that done.
I was just like to also add, okay, I was just going to add to you guys' point. When I was a little bit younger, I did participate in the ambassador program, and it was year round. I think I started in my 11th grade year, and I did in my 11th and my 12th grade year. And now I have siblings and relatives that's also in it, and it does work very well. And it's not just during the summer; it's year round. I think now is a little bit different where they're teaching more responsibilities. So it's kind of good that way. And I think at first when I was in it, it was more so like, let me make sure I get everything so I can get the check, where now you're still getting the check, but it's more to do. It's not as simple. So it's more of a job alongside schoolwork and everything else that you have to do. So I do say that program is succeeding very well.
Is that any better? I'm sorry. Is it any better, y'all? Excuse me. I'm kind of not. Okay. Well, go ahead, and I'll comment on. I want to comment a few things, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was done. I was just adding on to the program.
Yeah. Okay. Ladies, y'all have articulated real good. A lot of solutions. But I'm first I want to thank Brother Muhammad and his legacy, his father, and now him, that is at least bringing the dialogue of what is going on in the community. And he and I know, this is a discussion to try to come up with some solution. But the job is really in the streets. It's really committed and loyal people. It's really not a lot of sound bites and accusations. But my suggestion, as far as I want to touch on one thing, as far as the youth that are having problems in school. I'm kind of an out of box thinker. I'm a historian, so I know what is the big problem is now, that the students are not even interested in what is going on in the school. So we got them going to an institution that they're not even interested in, not even learning anything about themselves. So I think at this point, community organizations are going to have to start putting together curriculums that address who we are and what our accomplishments has been as a people. And then once and then at the same time, learning so they can learn who they are, who their parents were, who their grandparents were, and they can build up their self-esteem through their own legacies. In addition to that, I've been an advocate of what is important for a child at this time. I'm in direct contact with children in my neighborhood in the Walker Homes community. No child comes by my house without me speaking to them. I have a discussion with them about what's going on. And so that's important, that you have to have an individual dialogue and community dialogue to even get the interest of these students. And I'll just say, as a solution that I think that I've been saying, and I'm in the process of doing it through our historical foundation, is that there has to be a bringing back of trades, of learning. These students are going to have to learn how to go again to do electrical work, plumbing work, and welding work, whatever it's going to take for them to earn a living, because these children want to make money. And it's simple as that. If they ain't got no money, they ain't gonna be thinking about no education. They'll be trying to find out what they can do to make some money. And most of them, what they're doing, they're going into selling dope, and that's creating another problem. So until we can find some ways to get them interested in something that they'll have their own self-esteem on, and I think we can stop one person. If we can stop one person in every neighborhood that's moving toward learning how to make money and build a house, or do some plumbing to make an income for them, their families. And you have to remember that most of these children now have children. And so if they don't learn how to make money for themselves, then it's going to create another a legacy of crime. So I pause on that.
Okay.
I just want
Go
guys
ahead.
to add. I wanted to say that I agree with him on that. It's also about breaking the cycle of what we know as we're growing up, right? Showing that there can be a different way of life, and it does start with taking ownership, taking pride in what you're doing, right? It's, people do turn to drugs and stuff in neighborhoods because, as you say, they're trying to make money, right? It's about survival. So if we can show them a positive way to go about that, even from a young age, it can change their mindset to say, things can be different. We tend to go towards what we know and learned, right? So we do need others, if it's not within the family, to come through and say there is another way. And then what we also have to do is lift them up. So many times with the way things are now with social media and everything, negative comments, they talk about the jobs you have, they talk about, different things. So it could be negativity that turns them to go back the other way, right? But if a good job, making money, you know, um, that's something to be proud of. They might not think about it when they're young, but down the road, it's going to be what sustains them and their family. And I want to tie it back to something that Talib said about AI. I live in this of like helping people, whether it's through the nonprofit with development and getting jobs, but I am also an HR person. And the one thing for me where AI is concerned is how do we utilize those tools to get the information we need? How does it help us understand more about the people we're trying to serve? And the biggest thing is to make sure that there is still a human being reviewing the data to help make sure that there aren't some biases being taken into account. That is one thing that AI has shown, is that sometimes it can be, it's the data that's in there and what you ask for, you have to really ask for very specifically, because broadly it could take out a whole population or some of the underprivileged that we are trying to reach in that data. So we have to look at that bias too when using AI. I'll pass that. Did you want to add to anything, Kelly?
Not at this point, but I definitely understand Mr. Withers' point that we have to make sure that what we're doing is going to be beneficial. And I think exposure is key in making sure that we are capturing the attention of our young people and giving them something to see outside of their everyday and their norm. To your point, I think it's very, very critical that they see something productive. I am from North Memphis. Smoky City to be exact, and was able to go to school and was able to see something different. And I'm very grateful for those inside of my home that pushed me, but there were also mentors and others that believed in me, that actually took that additional step to make sure that I had what I needed. And so I'm very grateful to have those opportunities. And so to your point, it doesn't matter if that person's in your home. It matters that wherever they may be, that we're all a village, and being able to inspire and helping our young people be successful and to thrive. And so it's going to take a village of us. It's not a school thing. It's not a government thing. It's a people thing. And we have to be able to come together at the table to make sure that we're being the very vessel of hope that we want, that we're providing that opportunity to our people to be successful.
Another question, how does the lack of educational and emotional support for at-risk youth affect youth place readiness and overall safety in professional environments?
That is a good question. Oh, did you want to, are you talking, Andrew?
Yes, you can repeat the question, but go ahead.
I can repeat it. The question was, how does the lack of educational and emotional support for at-risk youth affect workplace readiness and overall safety in professional environments?
So you know you got to that's a 1, 2, 3, 4 part question. It's a lot. It's a lot to really try to answer. But the readiness and the job readiness in that, and I guess I'm on point. What kind of education they need to be ready for a job? If I can condense it to that, if I'm on point with that thought.
Yes.
Okay. So, it's important. I go back to, I used to be a teacher, a substitute teacher for more than 10 or 15 years. And I also taught special education at my neighborhood school at Mitchell High School a couple of years. And my involvement with youth, and then also I've been a board member of Marcus Garvey, which is now Be Learning Academy out on Mount Moriah.
Okay.
And my experience in preparing a child. And I always think about entrepreneurship because I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And of course, I worked in jobs as well. But I think that if a child is prepared, education is definitely important. The reading and writing and arithmetic is the basic. And I talk to students most of the time. I talk to some students. We had a rally over there on Mitchell and Rochester where we have a place where we run into youth. And I asked the young man one time, I said, and it goes back to, he said, well, this guy is maybe 12, 13 years old. And I asked him, I think I asked him the question, what would it take for them to better themselves and stay out of crime? The guys, and I think the other question was, or what would it take for you to stay in school? He said, well, after I got to a certain grade, he said, I'm not learning anymore about school. Ain't nothing that they can teach me, so I need to get out here and start making some money. So, and then we know getting ready for a job, a lot of these youth, and I see 500 youth issues, but there were 500 plus juveniles based on Brother Kareem's statistics that were involved in the juvenile system. So out of that 500, how many do you think can be ready for a job? How many do you think that they got it, that can get an education? If we could have Brother Sugarman and have a partnership with the juvenile court, which I think is very important now, that those 500 students need to be introduced to some kind of education system that teach them about themselves, and at the same time, once they learn about themselves, and to then create some kind of going back to a trade, and then instead of going back to try to get with at McDonald's or at Burger King or at a hotel or whatever, which is an in and out job. Try to get them the job for readiness at the same time. Let them learn about agriculture, how to grow fruits and vegetables, and how to have other trades, and I think it would start solving some problems.
Well, we appreciate you, and we actually have another panel getting ready to start. If anybody would like to stay, you're welcome to do that. But we don't want to be disrespectful of your time. And so, on behalf of STEM for Us and on behalf of our students, we really salute each and every one of you all for taking your schedule. And Kelly, we hope that we can partner with you. We have a lot of resources that I think can help our city to rescue our youth from the idle mind and idle time syndrome. That's another syndrome in addition to the preschool to prison syndrome over the summertime. And so I really would like to work with you, if at all possible, for us to do that. And Brother Rome, Sister Sharifa, and Miss Bellamy, I salute you all for taking your time, and we look forward to continue this conversation. And we're going to be bringing on more panels, and if you would like to stay, just raise your hand, and we'll bring you back on. So again, thank you so very much. And now we will transition to the next panel. And thank you, Sharifa. I know you had another engagement. You had to rearrange your schedule, so thank you so much. And so we have our next panelists who are ready. And so we'll bring them on right now. We won't even have a break. So we have Miss Laree King, one of our students and also one of our tennis players from the LeMoyne-Owen College, a Division II champion. Do you play singles or doubles or both, Ms. King?
I do both.
Excellent. So I know she's amazing. And she's going to be leading this panel. And we have some power hitters. We have none other than Imam Abdul Mudakir, who is the minister for Temple number 55 in the Vance in Memphis, Tennessee. And we're grateful. That is a position that is near and dear to us because my father, the late Dr. Talib Kareem Muhammad, may the Almighty have mercy upon him, was the exact same minister. So we know the role that our dear brother plays in terms of engaging, particularly with our youth. And I'm sure that he's going to bring it to us the way that my father used to bring it to us. So again, thank you, Brother Minister, for joining us. And in addition, we have Commissioner Charlie Coswell. Commissioner Coswell is known as the commissioner in Fraser, but he actually is not in Fraser. But he has such a great connection to the Fraser community, although he represents District 6, which does not include Fraser. But he has really such a wealth of knowledge and talent as a nonprofit leader himself before coming to the commission, and also his background in the legislative arena, where he actually had a bill passed in the Tennessee General Assembly. And I taught my students, Commissioner, about how challenging it is to get a bill passed. And we saw, for example, the education reform bill that just got passed but didn't clear both houses identically. And we talked about that with our students. We know how challenging that work was for you to get your bill passed. So again, salute you, and we'll go and leave it to now Miss Laree King to take it away with her questions and of course questions from the audience. Thank you, Miss King.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing? My name is Laree King. I am good to know. I am a student here at LeMoyne-Owen College, and I had a video that I would like to play. I'm gonna see if it lets me share my screen.
Students learn when educators at school and family members at home work together to support education. That approach pays off right away and for years in the future.
Students do better in school when the parent is involved with school. They're more likely to graduate. They're more likely to go to college. They're more likely to have a lasting career.
This powerful home-school partnership is called family engagement.
Family engagement simply means building authentic, collaborative relationships between parents, family members, the students, and the community for the success of all children.
In this video, we focus on this shared responsibility and show what families can do to partner effectively with educators. Family engagement is key to the Virginia tiered systems of supports. The framework is called different names in different school districts, but the goal is the same:
Can we stop it right
to create effective learning environments.
Thank you. So basically that video was just over like parents' involvement and when it comes to their kids in school. And I'll just have 3 follow-up questions. My first one, I would like to ask, how can schools better partner with families to support the students in school?
If you want to go, I can go if you'd like to. And again,
go ahead, my brother, and I'll come back. I'll come behind you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all again. Just some of the work I say that I've been engaged with around mitigating diverse childhood experience and working in the forensic community for a number of years. I've seen where we had generations and decades of parents who were babies raising babies and not have really. So that really led inside of the schools. We work inside of Memphis Business Academy, West Side Middle Schools, and we intentionally work with a holistic, high-fidelity approach of working with the parents and the children, educating some of those parents, again, on things and giving them tools that they didn't even have as a child. So it's very important for parents to be involved. I have 6 children myself. I know the impact, and I know because my older babies, they twins, 28, that those teachers always told me, because you were so present in the school, those children got favored. And the teachers were more intentional about making sure I had what I need to support them in being successful. So parents, just your presence can make an impact and a difference on your child. And that's what we train our parents to do.
I would start by saying I thank Mr. Caswell for what he's saying. He's 100% right with the parents being involved in the education of the children. We're in a time where people think they can just drop the children off at school and all of a sudden a miracle is supposed to take place in the school. There has to be, because the education doesn't stop or end once the child gets out of school. It has to continue in the home. One of the things that we are finding, Mr. Caswell can tell you, that in the home and in the school is 2 different things. So if the education doesn't continue in the home, when I was coming up, there was a thing you had to do homework. If my homework was not complete, when my mother came home, there were consequences. So I knew, and if any teacher would call my parents, my mother, on anything, my mother never agreed with me on anything. She told me that I had one job, which was to go to school and pass those classes. That was my job. And so we have to have parental guidance. The parents have to partner with the teachers. Nowadays, we see many times, I hate to say it, and I'm not, many times the parent fighting with the teacher because of something that the child did, as though they are adversaries as opposed to partners. So we have to change that paradigm to show parents that they have to be involved in the education of their children. We have to do that.
That was very well said, and I definitely agree. It doesn't just start or stop at school. It has to come home with the kids as well, and it has to follow with the parents as well. And like you said, I have a lot of friends who are working in the education department, and especially in Memphis, even with like one of my peers, she's a child care teacher, but for younger students. And one of her biggest concerns all the time is that when the parents are dropping these children off in the morning, they're getting out of the car with a smoke cloud coming with them. So it's like, she's like, it's hard to keep those kids engaged and, on topic, or, not sleepy or aren't hungry all the time, So that's another issue that, I wish and hope that Memphis can focus on. But my second question, which was a question that I found interesting, it's what role can faith-based communities play in student support?
Yeah. Brother, you want to go ahead?
You saw me, you saw me, Brother Caswell. You saw me, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Man, I tell you, I'm a son of Pastor Ricky Floyd. My pastor sadly was killed a couple of weeks ago, and Pastor Floyd and myself years ago sat down in his office. I remember debating back in 2008, and we was discussing who problem was it. I was saying it was politician at the time. I wasn't nowhere near being a politician, but God knew what he had in plan. And to that point, we came up with what was called the 7 Ps, working with the police, the pastors, the politicians, the parent, the principals, the proprietors, the partners, and the principals to build unity in that community and really be that village around the children. We knew in Fraser, sadly, we were looking at 75% single parent household. We at the time was pushing these job fairs and getting folks, and we was thinking we were doing a good thing by getting people a job out at Nike off Shelby Drive, where they were spending almost 6 hours on 3 hours on the bus going there, 3 hours on the bus coming back, in the warehouse almost 10 hours, not spending no time with the child. We started to really look at it and how do we be in that gap? We know this parent have to make this money, but how do we fill that gap and working with those families and children? And that really led to me then becoming back then the executive director of Rangeline Community Development Corporation. And I'll tell this real quick story because I just got a call the other day from a parent who was referred to me through juvenile court, and Judge Sugarman said, Commissioner Caswell going to be your mentor, and he's going to put you in some community service work. And not knowing, when the parent called me, she said, Commissioner, I don't know if you remember me. I had this baby because the boy said, I don't want to talk to him. And she said, you need to talk to him. This the man who put Pampers on you when you was a baby. This the man talked me out of aborting you. And I didn't even know this because I had a baby program back 15 years ago through our church and through our program. And so when I talked to the young man, to know that I remember that young woman at that time. And I remember her mama telling me, she said, she going to be all right. I was 15 years old when I had her. And I was assessing the mama paperwork at the time. And I said, Mama, you go on Section 8, you on food stamp, you don't have a job, you don't have a house. This is not all right. And so now here I am finding myself where our son, sadly, prayfully, her grandson, if we don't get this right here, the judge saying he's going to be bound over to the big jail if he come back. So it's generational, but it's going to take where we can step in as a village, as the church and faith-based and the mosque and others to fill in the gap for those families who we know can't be there or don't have the capacity to be there at this time.
I was smiling, dear sister, when you asked that question, and I wanted to just jump in, but I said I wanted to be respectful of my brother and all the beautiful work that he's doing. But he's 100% right. In the faith-based community, what does it do? The faith-based community connects us with a higher power, a higher force, whether you call it God, Allah, Jesus Christ, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever name you use. And that higher power, when you connect with that power, it gives us what our quote unquote purpose is. Part of the dilemma in our community is that it's not that we don't believe in God, but the belief that we have is not carried into practice. The struggle for the human being is to practice what we believe. And in the mosque, we teach our young children, we teach our young men that you are children of the Most High God. There's nothing that you cannot do. I tell them, you are mathematics. Don't say you don't like math, you are math. When you shoot that basketball, that's called geometry. And you are automatically a walking geometry because you can shoot and put an arch on the basketball enough that that ball will go up and come down and drop right into that hole. So you are geography. You are biology. You are these things. And when they stand up, when they go to school, they approach the subject as a master and not something else. We teach them these things. We teach them who they are. And as you all say in the church, whose they are. So you go to Lemoyne, my dear sister. My son graduated from Lemoyne on. He's a dentist today. When my son graduated, they stopped the graduation and spoke on him. There's some awards that you all give to these outstanding students. My son was awarded one of those awards. A brother named Jamal Muhammad was given that. Kareem Muhammad and others. It's because what we teach them when they go to school, they are not there kicking it and running around, but they approach it in a certain way. And it's because of the spiritual teaching that they give that allows them to get the other teaching. Nowadays, our children, like my brother said, in most of the single family homes, they believe in God, but they don't have what you call church home. There's not a practice of faith. So that faith is not handed down to the children. It's not that the children don't believe in God, but it's not exercised in their home. So you can see a young lady pull up with her child and all of this smoke coming out of the window because she doesn't even see the ill effect that that has on the child. And this is a challenge that we have. We have pastors all over the place. We have organizations. But to me, someone said in the earlier program that it takes a village. It's not that we don't have enough programs. The programs are not organized. We don't work with one another. And then when we do something like this, I don't want to get myself in trouble. When dollars are presented, then we jump over one another trying to get our hands on the dollars. And dollars become the primary focus and the children becomes the secondary focus. When the children and the community should be primary. The first thing, we have in this city, a Black mayor, city mayor, a Black Shelby County mayor. We have majority Black city council. We have majority Black county commission. We have a Black police chief, a Black Shelby County sheriff. We have judges and all of these things. The only thing that's missing for us is we have to sit down and work together. Now, I'm not trying to, I'm saying it can be done, but it starts with this question that you just had, that you just gave about us, the religious aspect of what we are teaching our children that they can take with them. I don't want to start preaching, but you know.
No, thank you.
You
I
helping,
definitely
you helping, sir, you helping.
y'all hit some very solid points leading there. And I don't want to go over my time. So I do want to ask these last two questions, but I would like to just throw them in there as one. My last question is, do you believe two-parent households improve student outcomes? And how do structured routines and parental engagement? Oh, I think I asked that, but it ties into, do you believe that the two-parent household improve the student outcomes?
Well, I'll start this with my brother. Yes. I grew up in a single family household. Same. My mother beat the hell out of us. I mean, she didn't play. And it took years for me to understand that my mother did that because she could not afford for me to make the mistakes that most men or most boys make. And she has to work all of the time. It took me a long time to understand some of the reasons that she did some of her things. So she got her bluff in early. But I grew up with my children. My son is a dentist. My son works at a hotel. He's a manager at a hotel. My other son, my two daughters are school teachers. They have their master's degrees. And I know that a lot of it comes from their mother, but the structure from the father being in the home helped them. So yes, I think that part of our challenge and dilemma is fathers being absent in the home. That is a big problem that we have in our communities.
And structured routines.
Structured routine, like I told you earlier. You remember now, I had to do my homework. I had to, when I came home, we took off the school clothes and put on play clothes. When I came home, the homework had to be done, or the bedroom that I was supposed to clean, or if it was my day to wash the dishes, or whatever it was, we had structure. And my mother did not play when it came to that structure. That's part of our dilemma. There's no structure in the school. Children can get away with everything they want to today. Nobody wants to discipline the children until they get caught with the police, and then the police take the stick out and go upside their head. Now, they get on the parent if the parent disciplines the child. They call it all of these things. We have to have structure and discipline of our children.
Yeah. Brother Muhammad, I totally agree. I believe we had the same mama. Because I come from a single parent household, and my mother put that belt on us big time. And when I look at it, I come from 17 brothers and sisters. And when I look at statistically how our home was so broken, and a lot of the failures of the ones who mom and daddy was not in their life, and then now looking at my 6 children and how successful they are in doing in our community and in life, I know that 2-parent household had an impact on it. And so I can look at that data. And it's also data that shows that the quickest way out of poverty is for couples to be together, to be a married couple. So two can put 1,000, one can put 1,000 for like 2, 10,000. So just the power of being able to be that balancing board for each other gives that child that structure that they need, and they can see it. Sadly, they are not seeing it. And I say this real quick. When I did an ACEs training for 50 young men in juvenile court, I asked the question, how many of y'all have a father figure in your house? You know your dad. Only 2 of them raised their hand. One said he was a stepdad, the other said an uncle. And then I said, how many of you been told you act just like your dad? And all of them raised their hand. And one of them raised up to me, and he showed me his ACEs survey, and he said, this is the only ACEs I got. I'm good. And it said, parent incarcerated. I said, what parent is incarcerated? He said, my dad. I said, what he's in jail for? He said, aggravated burglary. I said, what you in jail for? Aggravated robbery. I said, you're not good. And so because he rolled up and saw that, he is, as the Bible tells us, train up a child in the way he should go. When he get old, he won't depart from it. Well, they're being trained physical abuse, emotional abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, that household dysfunction. So they are not departing from that training, because as Brother Muhammad said, they're not showing up in the faith in the church. Their parents didn't go, and they trying to. And back then, even if my mama didn't go some Sunday, she made sure we got on that bus and went. And so it's those things that's not happening now. But yes, that 2-parent household is a game changer for families. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. These were all very, very great points. And I can say that I am the middle child. I was the 3rd child. So I kind of saw everything y'all got that my mom did with my older siblings. Like, when you come home, you take those school clothes off, you put your play clothes on. Before she get home for work, like my older sister, she was on it. Like, look, you go do this, you go do that. We finna make sure this is done. But I can say that I've seen both sides where, my mom, she's gotten a little older, or, she's gotten a new job, and, it's me and my younger brother left in the house, and my older 2 siblings are gone. And now I'm getting close to, graduate high school. So now it's just my little brother. And I say all the time that he's a little left behind because he didn't get those same things that we got instilled in us. So I definitely agree that a 2-parent household does improve student outcomes, because I grew up with that partially in my life, and it helped me. But I can say that it is times that I struggle due to just the lack of, I don't know what I don't, like you said, you don't even know what you're missing, because no one's ever taught it to you or you've ever had it. So I know that I struggle there sometimes. So I do try my best to put in as much work as I can to overcome those problems.
But sister, I can say this to you. The fact that you would admit that is very big. That you can say that openly, because most of our children, whatever they are dealing with, they are afraid to say it openly, especially the males, the things that they go through in their personal life, what they are feeling. Those young men that my brother talked about that didn't have a father, they can't even say how that makes them feel that their father wasn't there, because people call them weak and all of that. So we have to have classes where we can sit down and talk to our young men and make them to understand that if your father wasn't in your life, it's not your fault. You know, your father was taught the wrong thing. And many of us grew up, as my brother can tell you, sister, I'm a man. I can tell you many things that I learned as a young man that I thought were right. As I got old, I did not know how wrong I actually was in those things. So we have to share now and pass that knowledge on to the young ones so they don't have to make the same mistakes we made. Don't have to go through the same things that we went through. So what you are doing, if you're in high school, stay strong. Stay focused on what you want to do. You're in college. Stay focused. Stay focused. Nobody likes school. It is what it is. You got to get through there to do what you need to do. Stay focused and get that done. And then you'll be able to share that information with other young ladies that will understand the struggles as you went through.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. My family definitely calls me the black sheep because I am the one that's going to step on everyone's toes. I mean, every generation, I'm going to ask that question that no one wants to ask. Like, I'm going to be that one. I like recently, just a quick story. I was in the car with my aunt and she's 58 and she kind of like was just talking and she was ranting. And I just hit her with like, you need love. Has anyone ever said they love you? And she was like,
yeah,
my mom has never told me she's loved me. And I was like, wow, really? And I mean, she's never seen that side of me. And it's like, because she's so used to me being like her niece, this little girl. Like, and she was like, well, dang, girl. And I was just like, yeah, like, you know, like these are things that we need to talk about as families that a lot of people don't like to talk about because grandma don't want you to bring it up. No, that's not. I don't sweep it under the rug around me because I like to clean up. So we're going to ask those questions. And I think that if more people start to ask the hard questions and have the hard conversations, that a lot of things will start to change with the adults first. And then it'll be passed on to the children because the children are calling these adults hypocrites. You know, they can't really call them out for doing things that the kids see them doing all the time.
Well, I want to make one point. I know we have to go. I know we're running over time. But in the Nation of Islam, we have these classes, a men's only class and a women's only class. And what I find in the men's only class, it is a place where men can say they're not okay. You know, we learned that it's okay to say you're not okay, but they won't say that in front of women and vice versa. Women may not be okay, but they're not going to admit that in front of men. But when they're by themselves, then they can have those, like you were saying, those candid conversations that we need to have with each other. You see, so that young ladies can talk and help themselves and develop, and young men can do the same thing. So going somewhere with men, young, especially young boys, and closing the door and talking, that is very helpful to them when they can admit things. And I can say, as Brother Caswell said, no, brother, you're really not okay. Because he's walking around believing he's fine. No, you're not. And someone who could help him to see clearer. No, sir, you're not okay. And then refocus him on where he needs to go. Those things are vitally, vitally important. I didn't want to take up the time, but I wanted to say that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's a very good point to capstone this beautiful conversation. Miss King, you did an amazing job. I salute you. Of course, Commissioner, you're always there whenever we call you. And we definitely need, as I was talking to Sister Kelly with the police department, I'm extremely concerned about the summer. If you have had already 30 homicides in the month of April, and April is not even over yet,
38.
38. I'm sorry, 38. The question that I ask you is what's going to prevent a catastrophe in terms of the numbers exploding during the summertime when the youth don't have, again, anything constructive to do. I do believe, as was mentioned by Brother Minister, that the problem is that you don't have enough men in the homes. One of the questions pointed out that you have programs, in fact, like women, infant, and children that specifically don't provide you support if you have a man in the home. And then when you combine that with, social media such as TikTok, that is, literally creating algorithms that create conflicts between the man and the women, and that you see these being bombarded at you nonstop, and it creates that toxic type of relationship. How could you even imagine? Again, if our women are tuned into this, how can you imagine, and men, anything but the breakup of the family, the eviction from the men, especially again in the family court system. One of our students mentioned that the family court is where the problem starts. The children are involved in family court. The father is removed from the household, and then the child goes from family court to becoming a subject of juvenile court, and from juvenile court becoming a subject of the criminal court system. That's the cycle. And so I pray, Brother Caswell, Commissioner, that we can work with you to bring some of this AI technology and other technology along with discipline, the type of discipline that you see at the Nation of Islam in particular, a program that has had a proven track record for over 100 years of training men in places like Memphis and around the country. We need that type of discipline if we're going to rescue not just our men, but also our young women. And I would really encourage you, Brother Caswell. We talked about this a year ago, right? So now we're back around. Can we work with you, try to see if we can get some of this type of funding that was mentioned, so we can actually start saving and rescuing some of our youth?
I'm most definitely on board with that. Again, as I'm May the 1st, we're calling all our faith leaders together. We're going to meet at the Pursuit of God Church. We're bringing students in from surrounding schools, and we're asking churches and faith leaders to activate their gyms and their facilities this summer to do some things like athletically volleyball, tutoring programs. And we got some of that working now. I just say this: I got home about 1 o'clock this morning. I was with about 100 and some men last night. Every Friday night we at Dwelling Place Church. We use basketball as a tool, but last weekend we got 18 of them trained in forklift at that church, forklift certification. They went back to their jobs the next day. 4 of them went from $10 an hour to $20 an hour, and many of them are now looking at promotion. But we use that as a bait, providing wraparound service and other supports. We want to duplicate that, expand that throughout the city. So we're just calling on our faith leaders and others. Again, we can't just wait on government. Government is a seed, and this was a seed that I sowed into this initiative, and it's blowing up without us even, it's blowing up without, government sustaining it right now. And because the faith community saw the value in it, and they said, hey, we want to take this to the next level. And so those are the type of things that, yes, most definitely. I hear you, Brother Muhammad. I'm on board. I most definitely want to join with you. We got to join together. One of those shootings in Frazier last week was my nephew. They shot him 8 times.
I heard about
Thankfully, as I was with him yesterday, he didn't die. He's in recovery. But it was a robbery of a building, actually, that he was at. That was one of my buildings that they was stealing cop out of. He walked up on them. They tried to kill him. And so I do see it up front in person and know that we got to do something different. So I'm with you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to piggyback off to you, Mr. Caswell. You said that for the summer, give kids something to do. I work at Bellevue Tennis Center, and we're always welcoming kids to come join our tennis program. I mean, all ages. So out there in South Memphis, Bellevue Tennis Center. So if y'all want to look that up, into that is also something kids can come and do.
All right. Thank you.
Well, again, this has been a wonderful conversation. I salute you, Miss King. You did an amazing job. You've been working the entire summer, and and you deserve nothing but an applause. I wish there was a applause that we have on our like we have our teams. You would have a big applause. And then also again, Commissioner Caswell, again, you always on the case, and we appreciate you. And brother Mudaka, we definitely thank Allah for blessing our community with the likes of you. But we gotta multiply you. We gotta get back out there in the streets like we were back in the 80s and in the 90s. In the 70s as well, in the 60s. We got to get back out there in the streets. That's the only way that we're going to be able to save our youth. But it has to be a team effort. And so we appreciate you, and we look forward to working with you as well, Brother Minister.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for having us. And we'll get together, Brother Caswell. I'm definitely going to come on down, man. And I come to get my hug at least, brother. I'm coming to get my hug and my support. I appreciate what you're doing. We're going to work together because that's all we can do. We had almost at 100 homicides for the year, almost at 100 now. So, I mean, the math will let us know we are about to break all the records that we've already had. And so there is no one that can do it all. We're going to have to learn how to work with one another and sit down and close the door and have some honest and candid conversations that sometimes we don't want to have, candid conversations. Or as they say, come to Jesus meeting, if you will. Come to Muhammad, come to Allah, come to God. One of them meetings. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you. And we look forward to, again, working with each and every one of you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and a beautiful weekend.
Thank you all. May peace be unto y'all. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are excited as we come to the conclusion. We'll bring up our last student moderator, who is actually the team lead for our symposium project, and that is none other than Ms. Antonique Walker Johnson, who is a business owner, and she is also a former member of the United States Army. We appreciate all the great work that she did there. And one of the things that we talked about in our class is that, oftentimes when you meet a military service member or a veteran, and of course I served in the United States Air Force Reserves and attended the United States Air Force Academy. But one of the things that often is said, oh, well, thank you for your service. But we know that really what we, some of the people who we really should be thanking, along with those are the people who serve in our community every day, like every one of the people who, was on this panel. And we had one person who told me, like, well, what's the benefit of even participating? Like, I'm not helping. How am I helping my business? How am I helping my business to participate? And I think this was another question actually that came out in our class, as you may remember. How does examining the preschool to prison pipeline have a connection to business legal environments? And before I answer that question, let me ask you, Ms. Johnson, what is the answer to that question? And that was on the final exam, so I know you're gonna just hit this on the head. What is the connection?
Say the question one time, Professor.
The connection between, examining the preschool to prison pipeline and how to use AI to break that pipeline, and your class as business legal environment. Why should we learn about the preschool to prison pipeline as business students in particular?
Because using AI can help us come up with better solutions to solving our problems with the children in our community, in this generation, from, how can I say this?
from childhood, like detention, into adulthood. So it gives us better solutions into how to solve those problems.
All right.
And
excellent.
with, as you stated earlier, with Memphis having the supercomputer here now, with Elon, that is a breakthrough that I believe that the Memphis city people will, in Shelby County as a whole, will see in the upcoming years.
Prayerfully. So now is where we come to the end of our semester and our program. And we've been talking about how AI can basically solve the preschool to prison pipeline. Ms. Johnson, are you ready to now use your AI tool to see what Grok, which is the software created by XAI through the Colossus computer that's in South Memphis, to see what it says is the pathway to solve the preschool to prison pipeline based upon all the data that we've been collecting over the course of this semester and over the course of this symposium. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I am. Because Grok is actually a really good AI tool specifically for the city of Memphis. And I have been using that since class started, and I will continue to use Grok. It's kind of better than ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is also really good as well.
So, all right. So you want to share your screen in order to share how you're going to actually put into a prompt so people who are watching can see how this technology is applied and how it can solve the problem of the preschool prison pipeline and how it can help businesses. One thing you didn't mention that was on the exam, as you may remember, is that, again, crime and violence increase what for business? Increase what?
It it increases theft for business and loss of revenue.
Exact costs, right? That was the question on the exam. So again, this is the reality. And Memphis, it was put up on the screen. Memphis and Shelby County lost more people, and I think businesses were a part of that than any other county in the country. So if, again, we don't solve the preschool to prison pipeline, and we don't solve the issue of public safety, we don't solve the issue of, again, poor performances for and poor outcomes for our children, then this society is going to, again, in terms of our business community is going to flee Memphis, and you won't have any businesses left of any substantial form. And we pray that doesn't happen, especially with respect to XAI. So with that said, are you able to share your screen, Ms. Johnson?
I'm not sure how to do that. Can you?
Okay. I'm not sure how I can share your screen, but I tell you what, I can share my screen. Let me pull it up here.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure how to share my screen.
Are you able to do it now?
Just yet. Am I muted?
No. Are you able to? You said you are able to pull it up right now?
No, I said I'm not sure how to do it. This is my first time using this type of platform for video chat. So.
No worries. So what we'll do is we will pull up the Grok on our platform here, and then we will see what it says. Okay. Are you using yours? Are you able to get access to it?
Yeah, I'm using Grok as well.
Okay, great. So let's see what it says here. Okay. And we're going to use, because this is the one
And
we've
the
been
prompt
using.
is how to end the preschool to prison pipeline, correct?
Exactly. How can AI be used to end the, in fact, you want to type in the prompt in the comments, that would be good. So how can,
Okay.
say, want all the data above. I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen so you guys can see exactly how it's done. Okay. Right. So it's sharing now. So what we'll do, if you can type it into the comments, and I'll type it actually into Grok. So based upon data above, how can AI be used to break the preschool to prison? And one of the things you'll see is that in using this software, you don't have to actually get your question grammatically correct or even be correct in a spelling wise. It will still process it excellently. So based upon the how can AI be used to break the preschool to prison pipeline in Memphis as a model for the nation? And how can this achievement improve the business legal environment?
Legal environment.
All right, so that's the question. So let's see what it comes out with. All right.
I'm finna type it into the chat now. I was typing it on Grok as well.
Okay. All right. Great. And so, as you all may know, there's actually a couple of things. In fact, what I'm going to do is this is showing a couple of quick. This is a quick process that it's using now, because it's primarily pulling up past pages
everything
that we have had over the course of this school year. And you can see, I'll pull it up, and you can see that all the information that we have incorporated. And so exactly in the past. So it's remembered all of that. It's remembered all of that.
And it's using all those details to be to expand on the topic as a whole.
Exactly. And so this is what it says. And I will. I think you can see the screen. Can you see the screen? You want to review it, Miss Johnson?
Yes, I can see the screen.
All right, go ahead and then announce the points to see if we. Hold on. These are the points. I think they start here. Okay, right here. Go ahead. Go for it.
So you want me to start at point 1 or?
Well, you can
from
talk about
Memphis Spaces.
Right.
Okay, so using AI to break the preschool to prison pipeline in Memphis is a national model. So Memphis faces challenges with its preschool to prison pipeline is highlighted by the symposium's website data. Memphis Shelby County schools report a 25% suspension rate, 28% chronic absenteeism, and low academic proficiency. Additionally, over 500 juvenile charges in 2023 underscore the need for early intervention. AI can address these issues through targeted interventions, making Memphis a model for the nation. So here's how. So step 1, predictive analytics for early intervention. The application process. AI can analyze student data to identify at-risk students early, starting in preschool. Predictive models can flag students likely to face suspension or disengagements as seen as programs like positive behavioral interventions and supports, which have reduced exclusionary discipline.
And that's a good point. Again, if you, and one of our students, I think Ms. Thompson, is responsible for that type of data collection in her school. And just imagine if we, could empower every attendance officer in every school to begin to use AI and being a monitor and tracking. And and then engaging with the parent early on, and having meetings, and bringing in counselors, and bringing in mentors, and bringing in maybe extracurricular activities such as those that Miss King was talking about, such as tennis. These are all a part of the intervention that was talked about. You want to go to the next one?
Yes. So point 2, AI-driven restorative justice programs.
Memphis implementation. I think we got
Memphis implementation. In MSCS, AI can support panel 1's focus on student discipline by providing real-time recommendations during incidents. Instead of suspension, AI might suggest a peer mediation session addressing the 25% suspension rate directly. So this aligns with the symposium's goal of keeping students in classrooms and not courtrooms.
That's a very good point about that. All right, great. You want to go to point 3 now?
Yeah, so point 3, personalized learning to boost engagement. The national model for that is Memphis can showcase how AI-driven learning improve proficiency rates and lower absenteeism, offering a blueprint for other urban districts to follow, aligning with the symposium's $100 billion HBCU-AI Fund vision for educational innovation.
And that's key. Again, by giving every student a personalized learning plan, where they're actually getting exactly what they need. This is exactly what lawyers do, and what doctors do. They don't give every patient the same treatment. They develop a tailor-made treatment specifically for that. And I think AI is even helping to accelerate that improvement, specifically in terms of providing those treatment plans in the healthcare sector. And they should do the same in education. Very good point. Next.
So point 4, bias detection and disciplinary practices. So the application process, AI can audit disciplinary data to identify racial biases, a key factor in the pipeline. Studies show Black children are disproportionately disciplined for subjective behaviors, and AI can highlight these disparities for correction.
Very good point. I mean, again, one of the things that we see is, children, for example, we talked about, who, let's say, might not be able to read, or might not, have a solid understanding about the math work that they're doing, will oftentimes act out and become and exhibit disruptive behavior, because they don't want the class to realize that they don't know the subject, or they haven't done their homework, or they don't know how to read, for example. And so that then results in discipline. And so through AI, we can make sure that whatever response, and I believe the discipline has to be a part of it, is again targeted. So you're not just basically giving a child some random response, but you're giving that child the response that they need, especially if there's an issue again of them having a reading deficiency. And so that's key. Want to go to the next one, point 5?
Yes. So point 5, community and family support systems. Memphis implementation. So AI can support panel 4's focus on successful student homes by linking MSCS families to local resources. This can reduce chronic absenteeism by addressing barriers like transportation or food insecurity.
I think that's a self, sustaining and a self demonstrating concept. Anybody who basically sees that knows that just makes common sense. And again, why does Grog say it is important? What are the key, kind of connections between breaking the preschool to prison pipeline that connect to the business community?
So AI not only addresses social inequities, but also enhances the business legal environment, particularly given Memphis's economic context. So population loss of 20,000 since 2020 and high crime rates. And then
And
point
so,
one for economic growth through workforce development, the impact reducing the pipeline ensures more students graduate and enter the workforce, addressing the symposium's concern about workforce readiness. With Memphis poised as a tech hub, a better educated workforce attracts businesses.
And that's clear. You know, I think one of the things is that it is considered that Silicon Valley, you know, is not only a place where a lot of technology companies are, but it's where a lot of talent is also. And so Silicon Valley, that effect could actually also be here in Memphis if we focus more on making sure that we boost student outcomes. And some say, well, you know, Colossus was not built with the idea of hiring a lot of local talent as engineers. But that doesn't have, even if that was the case in thinking, that doesn't have to be the actual consequence. And if we as a community focus to really give through AI our students the resources they need in the class and partner with the parents outside of class, and that's a big piece. And I don't know, I didn't see enough of that in here, and I think that we really need to take a lot of the actual take the transcript. And I bet you if we took this transcript of today's meeting and then added it on there, a big part of it will be also focusing on the role of parents. So I absolutely agree there. Number two.
Reduction in crime-related businesses costs. So the legal environment for that. So lower crime rates decrease legal liabilities for businesses, such as property damage claims or employee safety lawsuits. For instance, a 10% crime reduction could save businesses millions in security and insurance costs, encouraging retention and new investment.
I think that can't be emphasized enough. As we stated before, you know, crime costs, and crime costs businesses the most. And one of the, you know, most significant impact is on the health business. And again, places like Labana and other places where they see a lot of traumatic injuries from shooting and other violence, you know, their business models are almost unsustainable. And again, imagine if these institutions closed, where would people go? So this is the type of thing that's the reality. Number four.
Stabilizing the business climate through population retention. So for the Memphis example, if AI reduces absenteeism by 5% through family support systems, families are more likely to stay, supporting local businesses and reducing legal conflicts over economic disinvestment.
Absolutely. Well, again, we definitely, I believe, can bring down the absenteeism rate through AI. But I again, if you layer on not only the AI, but also the parental engagement that we discussed, and beginning to train our young people in values, in morality, and in faith, I think that there's no doubt that we can't bring those numbers around. So that is it. Miss Johnson, your last comments.
No last comments, but I just want to thank all of the powerful insights and the panel, the speakers for sharing their inspiring vision for Memphis and beyond. So I am excited about the future collaboration with HBCUs, the community engagement efforts, and the innovative use of AI to create lasting change. So I look forward to staying involved and helping more with this work.
Well, you know, Miss Walker Johnson, it's been an honor to work with you. You know, you know how it was like pulling teeth, you know, to actually get to this point. Some people didn't want us to get to this point, in fact, as you know, but we got there. And we did that with the grace of the Almighty. So we thank the Almighty for blessing us, all of our students who put in a lot of time and effort. We appreciate those administrators that stuck by us, you know, even though they were getting complaints, you know, We definitely appreciate them, who they could see the vision for what we were trying to do. And I think that today's broadcast is a demonstration about the quality of what we can do is if we are willing to do a little bit of extra work. And that's what it's going to take.
Right.
We had Dr. Marie Fagans with us in our last class just earlier, a couple of days ago. And she's a demonstration that it's going to take a lot of work if we're going to change the culture from a culture of mediocrity to a culture of excellence.
Right.
And if we want Memphis to change, and we want this nation to change, we're going to have to begin to expect and demand excellence. And that's going to hurt. And in fact, I think we have to also try to ameliorate some of the hurt, try to talk to people a little bit better. But at the end of the day, change is going to come with pain, and so we have to be ready and be willing to accept a little bit of uncomfort and pain. There's another Arabic saying, which means that in the pain, there is gain.
Right.
Think about it. That when you know this, right? Because I'm sure it's said in boot camp all the time, no pain, no gain, right?
Right.
That's true. That's true. You can't get to the gain until you experience the what?
Pain.
The pain. That's it.
Exactly.
So again, Memphis is experiencing a lot of pain right now. So we pray that the pain that we are experiencing allows us to gain. If we can use this information that we have gained from this class and from this conversation, if we can use that data and actually put it into implementation, I have no doubt that Memphis will be, in fact, the #1 city in America and the #1 city in the world. We can be that way. And I pray that it can be a model for what other cities do across the country. Any last comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
Oh, we appreciate you, and we appreciate everybody who tuned in, and we appreciate all of our sponsors. In fact, let us go ahead. It would be remiss. I would be remiss if I did not recognize them. And so I'll do so right now. I want to recognize, first of all, the Shelby County Chief Administrative Officer, Harold Collins, who tried to log in, but he had some difficulty. So we appreciate you, Brother Collins. Our board chairman, David Owens, one of our other board members, actually a few of our board members who were there. We had, first of all, A Mission to Change, Sharifa Maston. We have also Paige Global, one of our board members. And also we have Judge Margaret Carey McCray, who was actually, she's a judge in Mississippi, Washington County, Mississippi. But also she was the lawyer for my father in his class action lawsuit that he filed against the city of Memphis and against Shelby County to end the runoff elections. And sadly, I've heard that those runoff elections have been reinstituted, which are, as the court, the federal court held, are illegal. So I don't know exactly why this has come back, but we're going to hopefully work to explore that maybe in the next semester. And then we have, again, Persevere Incorporated, Miss Stacy Books, and we appreciate her. Abe Legal Company that I run, in addition to my work with STEM for Us. I'm also a leader of a software company that helps lawyers connect to people who are looking for lawyers as easy as getting an Uber. So if you need a lawyer, then definitely check out Abe Legal. And we have also Dr. Hassan Sharif Kareem, who's my brother and also one of the country's foremost AI and cybersecurity experts, and also helped to build the XAI supercomputer plant in South Memphis, and also Abby Hussein. So we want to express appreciation to all of our sponsors and also our speakers. We'll just go back through: Marion Williams, Sharifa Maston, Attorney Tyler Queen, myself, David Owens, Rashad Watkins, Ron Withers, Stacy Books, Imam Abdul Al-Mutakir, Kelly Walton, Representative Hester McCray. She also sent her regards. She was in a funeral she was called into, but she wanted to participate. Commissioner Brittany Thornton, Commissioner Charlie Caswell, and again, we want to express our appreciation for them. And also, I would be remiss if I did not also recognize our student moderators. First, we had Miss Kadia Thompson. We have also Miss Tyara Polk. We had Miss Tatiana Bellamy. We had also Miss Laree King, and none other than yourself. And for some reason that did not get added to our website, so we have to make sure that it is updated. Miss Walker Johnson, let's make sure that that gets done. But we appreciate all of our students, and this was a wonderful experience. And we thank the Almighty, and we wish you all a wonderful evening or day.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you for sticking in with us. Have a wonderful day.
You too.